college, I bought a big house for me and my girlfriend Kimberly in Cordington, Indiana. It's a small college town with some nice homes I could afford, and yes, I went to college, even with all the money. I finished my bachelor's degree and was working on my master's degree. How did I pay for all this? I sold a lot of Bitcoin back in December 2017 and made a good profit. That's how. The last thing I spent money on was starting an online clothing company called N-Trendy, which Kimberly and I managed together. "Babe, do you have a moment?" I asked one morning while sitting at my desk. Our office was in the loft area of our house. "Hold on," Kimberly said, raising her hand to pause me. Kimberly, or Kim for short, is now my wife. We got married when we were both 20, having been childhood sweethearts. It felt natural. That was 2 years ago. She never cared about my money, either when I was struggling or doing well. We grew up in the same neighborhood. She is my smart, fun-loving wife. Not only is she attractive and petite, but she is also my best friend and partner in everything, including our business. She has beautiful brown eyes and black hair that she often pulls behind her ears. As a gamer, she is very skilled. I play some games too, but she is much better and more dedicated. She works as an esports analyst for games like CSGO, Valorant, and League of Legends, mostly from home. Some of our clothing items even relate to her work. Right now, she was in her comfy gaming clothes, completely focused on CSGO. Our office was warm, being in the loft of our big house. I leaned back and watched her as the game didn't go her way. With a sigh, she turned her chair to face me. Kimberly always looked great, with her warm smile and lovely tan. People often think Latina girls are fiery, but Kimberly is just sweet and genuine. She adjusted her glasses and looked at me. "Hey, what's up?" she asked. "Check out these leather jackets," I said, rolling my chair so she could see my screen. Kimberly moved closer. I showed her a design for some cool leather jackets from one of my company's designers. It was red leather with pockets and nice zippers, giving it a stylish yet rough appearance. "Looks awesome," she said, narrowing her eyes to take a closer look. "Yeah, I was thinking of making them in Italian leather," I suggested. "Really? Don't you think that might be a bit risky?" she replied. "I mean, it would cost a lot." We talked about this for a while, balancing costs with the chance to grow our brand. We wanted to create a cool line of streetwear that looked nice. To promote it, we reached out to some musicians to see if they would like to wear our clothes in return for some support. The idea was simple. Wear it, show it. But everything felt uncertain. Although I had money, I also had a habit of spending it on fancy things. I called it living well and investing, but really, I was just spending. Looking at my finances, I noticed I was heading into trouble. I needed to cut some costs, especially with this big house we didn't really need. We needed a home, just not one this size. We tried a few ways to save money. One of those was getting a roommate. We had an empty bedroom on the ground floor with its own bathroom. It had been a guest room, but we had enough of those. So, in theory, we could take in tenants. But we decided to start with just one. This was all new to us. "So, has anyone responded to the ad?" Kim asked, leaning forward with her elbows on her knees. "Not really. A couple of people have replied. It's March, so it's a busy time for students," I replied. "Well, we need to meet them. Let's set it up," Kim said, standing up. She had a bit of a tomboy style sometimes when she talked. I watched her walk across the room to the stairs, pulling on her warm white sweater, a Christmas gift from me. It was warm in the office, but the rest of the house could still be chilly in March. "I'm getting some fuel. Want some?" she called back. "No thanks, I have Muay Thai in an hour and some stuff to do at the library," I shouted after her as she disappeared down the stairs. I turned my focus back to the applicants. 3 people had shown interest, 2 men and 1 woman. I wasn't sure if Kim would be okay with a girl living here, but I wouldn't mind. We had a pool out back and all, but I thought the guys might be easier to handle. One was Toby, the other was Marcus, who was in his 40s. I didn't feel comfortable letting someone that much older into our home. Besides, my uncle was a plumber too, and he was quite a character. For now, Toby seemed like our best option. So when I said I was spending my money on nice things, I didn't mean I was wasting it. Expensive cars and big houses needed good money flow. As I polished my Lamborghini and glanced at my Rolls-Royce and my classic Jaguar, I wondered if I should have been smarter with my choices back then. I was young and maybe a bit foolish, but at least I had these cars to show for it. "Ahem," I heard. I looked up to see Kim standing in the open garage door. It was a big door, but my focus was entirely on her. She wore a simple yet nice red bikini that looked good on her. She had a flat stomach and a slender waist. "Better. I prefer it when you look at me instead of your car," she joked. "You want it? I'll let you take one if you want," I joked back. The cars were meant for both of us to use anyway. I just had better insurance since I had my license longer. "No thanks. I need a lifeguard to watch me while I swim. You should count my laps," she said playfully. I realized her plan was to get me into swim trunks, and I chuckled. I was in good shape, tall and fit. I worked out a lot. I wanted to impress her. "Why do you want to swim in March, though? We have a heated outdoor pool, but still." "What about swimming without suits?" she asked. "Sure, but your uncle is out back fixing some pipes. You know how he talks about that," I reminded her. I had forgotten about that. "Maybe we shouldn't. It's too chilly," I teased, and Kim made a face at me. "Let's quickly get cleaned up first. We have our first interview in an hour." We had a nice shower in the guest bedroom, which was very convenient. I joined her and gave her a quick kiss on her neck, enjoying the moment. Kim placed her hands on mine and smiled as we leaned against each other. "Last time in this bathroom," she said playfully. "Let's make it special," I whispered, sharing a quick kiss. After a little while, we wrapped things up. We had things to do and more time to enjoy later. We had received a few more applicants for a place to stay. We wanted to find someone new to live with us, but they needed to fit our lifestyle. We were thinking about welcoming tenants soon, just to fill the house a bit more, but for now, we were trying to adjust to the idea of someone else living with us. The candidates were Lauren, Toby, Stephen, and Joey. I quickly said no to Stephen and Joey. Stephen was too big, and I knew him from the boxing gym. We wanted new faces. Joey was a jock with family issues, and I wasn't interested in that. Lauren, on the other hand, was a pretty brunette with green eyes. She wore a nice red dress that looked good on her. I had to talk about the candidates. Well, Kim decided not to choose her. So that left Toby. He was younger than us, just 20, studying for a degree in something basic. He was a bit round and seemed like someone who would keep to himself. So, we decided to hire him. At first, it felt strange walking into the kitchen wearing just my bathrobe and finding this new guy there. The kitchen was big, so there was plenty of space, but still, I was sipping my coffee and noticed him eating his cornflakes. He had short black hair. He was taller than Kim, but shorter than me. Maybe around 5'11" or 6 feet. His eyes looked tired, but I thought he could be decent looking if he tried. I shrugged and decided to start a conversation since I was his host. "So, how's it going, Toby? Did you sleep well?" I asked while pouring him a glass of orange juice. "Did you find everything okay?" I hoped I didn't sound rude, but he looked a bit scared of me. I glanced down and remembered to close my robe quickly. Yes, the room is quite big. It's like living in a living room with a bed," he replied, looking towards the hallway. "Yeah, I grew up poor, so when I bought this place," I said, waving my hand around, "I had no idea what I was getting into. But you learn as you go." An awkward silence followed for a moment. "So, did you sleep well?" I asked again. He nodded. His eyes shifted away from me. I turned to see Kim coming down the stairs. Even in her flannel pajama pants and plain t-shirt, she looked great to me. I smiled at Toby and nodded at Kim. "Great sight, huh?" I nudged Toby lightly. He gave a small smile and nodded awkwardly. "Stop staring and where's the food?" Kim asked as she opened the fridge. "We're out, babe," I replied. I was so used to her direct way of speaking that I found it amusing. Toby seemed surprised. "Ugh," she sighed, rolling her eyes. She went back upstairs. "Well, you're in charge for a bit. I need to head out," I said, then realized how that sounded. I mean, just keep things running while I'm gone. Enjoy the place, like the pool and everything, you know what I mean? It was a bit awkward moving into Josh and Kimberly's house. Their place was huge. The main floor had a long hallway leading to a big living area. On the left side was a large TV space with a pool table, an 80-inch TV, sofas, recliners, and a big fireplace. Everything looked expensive. The kitchen was open to the right of the living room with tall windows facing a large pool outside. The yard extended for at least an acre or two. First was the pool area, complete with a small jacuzzi. Beyond that were a small pool house, a lawn with a tennis court, and likely more. My My room was on the first floor, the first door on the left in the hallway. It was a spacious room, much larger than my parents' apartment. I even had my own bathroom and a small, separate office. The house was incredibly luxurious, a mansion, villa, or whatever one might call it. The floors were unusual, and the stairs were circular with several landings. There was one level for guest rooms, another for the main floor, and the last level reached all the way up to the roof. Standing at the top, looking down, made me feel a bit dizzy. The ceilings were incredibly high. I had been wandering around the house a bit. Josh had gone to the university, and Kimberly was in the office with her headphones on, unaware of my exploration. The house was just so big. I knew I might have been overstepping a little, but Josh and Kimberly were kind and didn't seem to mind. Kimberly, in particular, was especially friendly. From the moment I entered the house, I noticed her warm smile and the way her eyes lit up. She was casually dressed, yet still looked effortlessly elegant. There was something about her that made an impression on me right away. I found myself peeking into the office after gazing out of the window for a while. Kimberly appeared to be playing a game on her computer. I hadn't spoken much with her about it, but she seemed to spend quite a bit of time on her PC. She had her back to me, completely focused on the game. It was warm upstairs, and Kimberly was dressed casually in a t-shirt and comfortable shorts, which made sense given the heat. I could feel the temperature affecting me, too. Trying to distract myself, I decided it was time to leave her in peace and continue exploring the rest of the house. Before she could turn around, I quickly went down the stairs. I couldn't believe I didn't get to finish what I was doing. That was too close, I thought, and it truly was. The weeks passed. After some initial awkwardness, we found a routine with having a tenant. Generally, we only saw Toby at breakfast. Sometimes he joined us for Friday dinners, especially since my wife made the best Mexican food. Honestly, turning down her cooking? That would lead to trouble. "So you don't mind having him here?" Kimberly asked one morning. I ate toast while she drank orange juice. Toby sat nearby, eating quietly. "No, if you think it could help us," I replied. Kim suggested investing in a used car shop. She had some experience with welding and metalwork from high school, which would definitely help the business, and our money would be a bonus. "I believe it could. It would be useful during the breaks between tournaments," Kim said, since she often had several weeks of downtime from work. "Sounds good. What was the name of the company again?" I asked. "Hope's Branded Cars," Kim answered. I shrugged. It was settled then. "Well, what about you? Planning to work on any cars?" I asked Toby. He seemed surprised since he was lost in his own thoughts. "No, the heat makes me nervous," Toby replied quietly. "We can all handle a bit of heat, right?" I said, giving Kim a playful look as she rolled her eyes. I knew she enjoyed it, even if she thought it was a bit cheesy. "You think we'll get to swim this weekend?" I asked the room. "It's April," Toby said quietly. "You guys are such wimps. It's at least 50 degrees outside, and it will be warmer by the weekend." "I'm barely familiar with this cold idea," Kim joked. Our days were blending together at this point, and I laughed. "Get your swim trunks, Toby. You heard Kim. We're going to have a pool day this weekend, even if it's a bit chilly," I said cheerfully. I noticed a small smile on Toby's face. "How long have you been married?" Toby asked, surprising me with his question. He usually didn't speak up like that. 2 years. Almost 3 this summer," I replied. Meanwhile, Kim decided to excuse herself. She wasn't being rude, but she always kept things with Toby friendly yet distant. We had agreed beforehand to keep things that way. I was just more chatty than she was. It came naturally to me and helped in my work. But Toby had his own way of being, which I respected. "Do you have any swim trunks?" I asked, leaning against the kitchen island. "Nope. They never fit well," Toby muttered. "Well, there are still a few days left. We don't want you to miss out." "Maybe we'll have our first barbecue of the year," I said. Saturday came, and the temperature was a chilly 55 degrees. Still, Kim wanted to swim, so she put on her red swimsuit while I wore my Hawaiian shorts, which I got when I visited Hawaii. Unfortunately, Toby didn't seem interested in joining us. More food for us, I thought as I warmed my hands by the grill. Why did I agree to this? Well, I liked imagining the neighbors watching us enjoy our day by the pool, having fun on an April weekend. Toby never came out, but I found him in the kitchen when I went to get the ketchup. "What's up? Are you going to join us?" I asked. "No way. It's too cold for me and I didn't bring my swimsuit, he replied, glancing outside. I looked out the windows to see what he was looking at. Outside, I watched Kim swim to the edge of the pool and pull herself up onto the deck. She glowed from the water, and her muscles showed in the sunlight. She wasn't the biggest woman around, but she stayed fit. Her swimsuit, a standard one, was a little snug, fitting closely to her shape. She adjusted it, pulling it away from her skin. Even when relaxed, Kim's beauty was striking. I turned to Toby. "Pretty nice, right?" I said, nudging him with my elbow. I couldn't help but feel proud showing off my wife. Toby nodded, knowing he should respect her. Part of me enjoyed the moment, and that was that. "I can't wait to see you in that dress again," I exclaimed. "Ugh, it's just not the same," Kim replied. We had gone out for dinner, and Kim looked stunning in her green dress. It was a long, elegant satin dress with a side slit that showed off part of her leg. The slit reached just above her thigh, adding a touch of flair. She looked amazing, and her high heels accentuated her legs perfectly. Kim often hesitated to wear fancy clothes or spend money on such items, but I wanted to get her a few nice outfits. Even if she preferred casual wear, I loved seeing her dressed up elegantly. "What do you mean?" I asked, glancing at her. We were driving on the highway, making our way up to Indianapolis in the Lambo. It was a fast ride. "I know our room is a bit secluded, but I feel like someone is watching us. And that echo in the hallway, it makes me nervous. You know how I can be." "Come on, it's fine. I don't think Toby would mind." "What do you mean?" "Well, you're right. Someone is watching. When we were swimming, I saw him sneaking a look." "Really? What did you do about it? Confront him?" "No, I just stared too. You're really attractive, Kim." Kim rolled her eyes as usual. "Oh no," I muttered. I was being pulled over. I wasn't sure how fast I was going, but I knew I had been speeding. I hadn't been drinking, though. I was careless, not reckless. Later, as we lay in bed, we found ourselves talking about our earlier conversation. "Please, not so rough." "What, are you worried our biggest fan might hear you?" "Seriously, don't say that." I continued, enjoying the moment, holding her close and kissing her neck. I knew Kim wasn't comfortable talking like that, but suddenly she opened up. "You're not the only one who noticed him watching. I think he has been spying on me at work. I swear I heard footsteps one time," Kim said. The thought of someone watching her made me feel a mix of emotions. "You think he likes you?" I asked. "That's really wrong." "It makes sense. You're often in your boxers at home and you're beautiful. Isn't it kind of flattering to think someone admires you?" "Yeah? You think women think about you when they're with their partners, with your good looks and strong build?" Kim shot back with a smile before bursting into laughter. "Okay, point taken. I'll stop. Stop most of what you're doing, but not what you're best at." "So, I'm just here for your amusement?" "Definitely, darling. Just make sure to have fun," Kim joked, laughing at her own playfulness. As the moment continued, I felt overwhelmed with emotion. One thing we sometimes did, for better or worse, was throw big parties. Now that we had made some better choices about our finances, we decided it was time for another gathering. A cold pool day just wasn't cutting it. We loved to be social, hang out, play games, and dance. "And you can join us," I told Toby as I warned him about the upcoming weekend. I had sat down on his bed after knocking, just to be polite. I wasn't sure how he would react since we were roughly the same age. I hadn't been in his room since he moved in. It was a bit messier than I expected, but I didn't let it bother me. It was his space, after all. If he liked it that way, that was his choice. Maybe," he said, sitting at his desk and hardly glancing my way. I shrugged and got up to clean the pool. It wasn't too dirty, just a few leaves and some other bits. I added some chlorine. I didn't think anyone would want to swim at the party, but I wanted to be ready, especially if Zach and Amanda came. They loved playing games that could lead to an impromptu swim. It took me about an hour, which was enough time to make me a bit cold. I only had on a t-shirt, so I was shivering a bit. While I warmed up with some hot cocoa, I noticed Kim sitting in one of the couches in the TV area. She was wearing her white long-sleeved sweater, which was long enough to cover a lot, but she liked to keep her legs uncovered. She was busy painting her toenails green. Green really suited her, though she looked great in any color. I shifted my gaze and noticed someone by the stairs, trying to sneak a look. It was Toby. I had seen him checking her out before. I figured he was just a young guy feeling insecure and Kim was attractive. While I wasn't usually the jealous type, I didn't like the idea of anyone being too flirty with her. Seeing him sneaking a peek made me feel a mix of emotions. I watched the scene unfold. From where I sat, I could see more than he could. Kim turned her head and Toby quickly ducked away. She smiled at me when she saw me watching. "You sneak," she laughed, turning back to her nails. Hardstyle music wasn't really my favorite, but as I stood behind the bar in my casual pinstripe suit enjoying a cigar, I felt the atmosphere around me. I wasn't really serving drinks. It just felt nice to mix drinks for our guests while Kim mingled. I even spotted Toby, shyly watching our 20 or so friends as they chatted, danced, and had fun. "Toby!" I called out, surprised he could hear me over the music. I waved him over and he came my way. "Want a beer?" I asked, starting to pour one from the tap. We had some kegs delivered and set up thanks to Kim's help. She was really good at this kind of thing. Toby began. I looked at what he was wearing, just sweatpants and a polo shirt that was a bit snug. Poor guy. "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. We're in a college town in Indiana. Nobody cares," I said with a laugh, handing him a drink. He took a sip and winced. He hadn't gotten used to it yet. "What do you think about the party?" I asked. I took off my sunglasses and playfully put them on his face. He looked a little confused but fixed them quickly. "A lot of people," Toby said quietly. "Lots of pretty girls, right?" I said, resting my elbow on the counter and looking around the room. Toby nodded, but I noticed which girl he was watching, Kim. He probably had a little crush on her. That's no big deal, I thought. Hours later, the party was winding down. Some people had left, but many still remained. It was me, Kim, Zach, Amanda, a guy I didn't know, and his girlfriend, and another girl, maybe his sister. But I wasn't sure. I was feeling pretty tipsy. Oh yeah, and Toby was there, still sitting by the bar. We gathered around the coffee table on our white leather couches, playing a silly card-drinking game. At this point, it was hard to remember the rules. Kim finally had enough. She tossed her cards on the messy floor and said, "Forget this. Let's do something different." "How about truth or dare?" Amanda suggested. The others agreed. Zach, being a bit arrogant, had to jump in. I wondered why I was friends with him sometimes. A more sensible person might have called it a night and sent everyone home. But I wasn't feeling sensible. "Okay," Kim said with a sigh. "I'll start. Amanda, truth or dare?" "Dare," Amanda replied. "Drink all that absinthe over there," Kim said lazily. She wasn't the biggest fan of Amanda, but only I knew that. No one really liked Zach either. "That's no fun," Amanda said, crossing her arms. "Pick something else." Kim glanced back at Toby. "Give that guy a hug," Kim said, pointing to Toby, who looked surprised. "Are you okay over there?" I asked Toby. "Yeah, come sit. Hugs are best on a comfy couch," Kim said, patting the seat next to her. "Who's that guy?" Amanda whispered to me. As Toby approached, I stood up, put my arm around his shoulders, and pointed my drink at him. "This, dear Amanda, is Toby," I said, guiding him to the seat next to Kim, who was still patting it. "Our roommate. Be nice and hug him or drink the absinthe." Amanda sighed, moved to her knees in front of Toby, awkwardly placed her hands on his shoulders, and gave him a pretty unpleasant look. "Don't drool on me, okay?" Amanda then wrapped her arms around him for a brief moment and quickly let go, not really hiding her discomfort at all. Amanda looked at me, eager to get back at Kim. "Truth or dare?" she asked. I didn't want to seem scared, but I also knew Amanda could be challenging. So I said, "Truth." Amanda seemed a bit let down, but brightened up quickly. "What are the names of those three over there?" She pointed to the three people nearby. Oh no, I turned bright red. I had talked to them a lot earlier. The girls laughed. Zach and Toby snickered, clearly enjoying my awkwardness. They understood I wasn't trying to be rude, just that I wasn't good with names. The two girls looked at me eagerly while the guy laughed as he watched me struggle. Jejin? Jennifer?" I said, pointing to the girl with the short hair. She wore a small leather jacket and red pants. She nodded. "1 out of 3 isn't bad," I said, singing a little. "That's 2 out of 3, you goof," Kim said, tapping my shoulder playfully. "Yeah, me and, Mike? We were talking about Jennifer Connelly when your friend came over and thought we were making fun," I explained, wanting to show I wasn't trying to be rude. The guy just shrugged. Close enough? Really? I asked, but the guy chuckled. Yeah, totally. My name is Robert. Who's Mike? I asked. Robert shrugged again. I looked at the last person. She had gray eyes like Jennifer Connelly, which was the topic of our discussion. She was a bit taller than Jen and had long brown hair. Linda, I said. There, I got it. I smiled, hoping for some cheer, but everyone seemed a bit bored with the wait. Hey, how about we change things up and make it more fun? Amanda suggested. Fun? Zach asked. Yeah, like a game, Toby added. And I have some cool rules to make it even more interesting, Amanda said with a mischievous smile. Okay, so we have a bottle. There's some drink left in it. One person spins the bottle, then gives a dare. The dare has to involve two people. So the person spins to choose one part of the dare, then spins again for the other part. Got it? If not, I'll show you. My dare is a playful slap. Now I'll spin to see who does the slapping. Here we go. Come closer, Zach. Amanda took a bottle, placed it on the table, and spun it. First, it pointed at her. Oh, looks like I get to give a playful slap. She spun again, and it landed on Linda. Linda smiled and turned a little, playfully saying, Come on, give it your best shot. Me and the guys cheered as Amanda moved closer, placed a hand on Linda's waist, and playfully slapped her side. Linda winced a bit, but joined in the laughter, clearly enjoying the moment. Oh, just wait, you'll all get your turn, she said with a grin. My turn now? Amanda nodded. My dare is... Linda playfully suggested a fun game, making everyone at the table laugh. I noticed she had a certain charm that caught the attention of some guys around us. She picked up a bottle and started spinning it on the table, creating a sense of excitement. After several spins, it pointed directly at me. I raised my fist in victory. You're not getting my spot, just remember, whoever the bottle points to, Linda teased, and the others joined in the laughter. Once more, Linda spun the bottle, and this time it landed on Amanda. I exchanged glances with Kim, who gave me an encouraging nod, her eyes fixed on Amanda. Amanda, already seated on my couch, turned to face me with a playful smile. Come and join me, she said, looking at Kim, who was focused on what was happening. I moved in closer to Amanda. She looked back at me with a smile. There was a playful tension in the air, but I had my chance, and I planned to enjoy it. I placed my hand gently on her side, exchanging laughter as we played along. After a brief moment, I pulled back, laughing at the fun we were having. I turned slightly red, realizing the attention was on me. I glanced at Zach, who didn't seem pleased. Why not jump in the pool instead? I suggested with a laugh. The girls responded, clearly wanting more excitement, while Zach looked frustrated. All right, how about a little peck on the cheek? Nice and sweet, right? I know you all like that. The girls agreed, smiling. The bottle spun again and landed on Jen, then on Robert. Jen playfully gave him a kiss, and he grinned back. Jen quickly took her turn with the bottle. Take off his or her shirt, Jen dared. How is that fair? That's not a two-person dare, Amanda argued. Well, one person has a shirt and the other takes it off. Simple, Jen explained. The others laughed and cheered. While the girls seemed eager for some shirtless fun, I was wondering if they'd want the same for us. But unexpectedly, the bottle pointed at Zach. I held my breath, hoping it wouldn't land on someone else. Instead, it landed on me. The girls cheered, clearly ready for a bit of excitement. I took a deep breath and decided to play it cool. I stood up, removed my jacket, and opened my arms as if to hug Zach, who was looking bewildered. Just don't tear my shirt, I joked, trying to keep the mood light. Zach got up awkwardly, his face bright red, even more than mine had been earlier. Zach noticed he was shorter and not as sturdy as I was. He grabbed the bottom button of his shirt and started to unfasten it. He even tried to show off a little with a hip twist, hoping to impress the girls, but his hands were shaking. Lower your arms, Zach said quietly. Sure thing, big man, I responded with a laugh, making the others chuckle. Before I knew it, I was shirtless. I flexed my arms, receiving some cheers and claps from the girls and Robert. Zach appeared completely defeated. I had no complaints, but I would have preferred to see Jen or Linda. Both seemed quite impressive, especially if it seemed okay with Kim. But now it was Zach's turn. Ugh. I want to see some kissing, Zach announced, spinning the bottle energetically. It pointed to Linda and then back to Linda. What now? Zach asked, a bit hopeful. Amanda sighed and spun the bottle again. This time it landed on Toby. Toby looked shocked, but Linda noticed his nervousness and spoke up. "We could go to another room if this is too much for you," Linda suggested. "Sure," I replied, wanting to help, pointing to a door. We had a small room at the back where we kept cleaning supplies. "Are you sure?" Robert suddenly asked. What did he care? He had a girlfriend. Linda took Toby's hand and led him away to the quiet room. The girls cheered and I joined in. A minute later they returned, both looking a bit flustered. Linda's hair was slightly messy. Had they spent extra time in there? Linda plopped down, sighing. "Wow, guys, that was unexpected," she said, looking a bit overwhelmed. Toby grabbed the bottle, smirking, but stayed quiet. Did he have some hidden talent? My curiosity was growing. "More kissing," he said softly. This time it landed on Kim. It had been a while since Kim had been part of things. I felt a bit torn between hoping it would be Linda, Jen, Amanda, or Toby getting to kiss, but it was Linda again. "Looks like I'm getting all the fun tonight. Should I book a room?" Linda joked. "No way," Kim replied with a playful grin aimed at me. Linda, who was sitting on the sofa next to Kim and Toby, suddenly stood up. She stumbled a bit, took a step, and then fell forward onto Kim. "Hey there," Linda said, finding herself face to face with Kim. Then she leaned in for a kiss, and Kim kissed her back eagerly. "Wow," I whispered, wide-eyed, a bit shocked. And just like that, it was over. I wanted to enjoy the game more. "Another shirt has to come off," Kim said, breathing a little harder as she spun the bottle. It pointed to Zach first, then to Robert. "Come on!" Zach yelled, frustrated. Robert was quiet and easily removed his shirt, but now Zach wanted payback. With his luck? "One of you has to give the other a minute of attention," Zach said with a playful smile, spinning the bottle again. Suddenly he realized he could end up being the one. "Wait! Too late," Linda laughed, with Amanda joining her. I hoped I wouldn't end up in an awkward position with one of the guys. Thankfully, it did not land on Zach. Instead, it landed on his girlfriend, Amanda, who gasped in surprise. Zach cursed and spun again. This time, it landed on Toby. Why was he getting picked all the time? And now Amanda, who clearly wasn't thrilled. Amanda looked very annoyed, almost like she couldn't believe this was happening. She shot a look at Toby filled with disdain. Zach looked equally distressed. Not only was he getting the guy-on-guy risk again, but his girlfriend had to deal with Toby once more. "Hey, don't act like that," Linda said. "Yeah, it's part of the game," Robert added, usually quiet. "All right, I understand," Amanda replied, clearly upset as she stood and moved toward the closet. Toby seemed unsure. "Are you coming, Toby?" Toby quickly got up. "You guys keep playing. Jen, can you spin for me while I—" Amanda said, trailing off. We all shrugged. No reason to make it worse for either of them. Jen took the bottle and spun it. "What do we say to a fun challenge for 60 seconds? Jen suggested, spinning the bottle. I hoped it wouldn't end up with Zach and Kim. Things were definitely getting more exciting. With the girls interacting and the idea of some playful dares, it felt charged. But again, it landed on Jen and Robert. They quietly left for a different room just as Toby and Amanda reappeared. Now, Amanda looked completely taken aback, as if she'd seen something shocking. "What happened?" Zach asked. "You don't want to know," Amanda replied, grabbing the bottle, looking annoyed with Zach since it was his idea. "Ugh, Zach, I'll take care of this for Jen." Amanda shook her head, trying to forget her earlier moment. "My challenge is, someone has to pin the other down," Amanda said, looking at me and then Zach. The small group laughed. Everyone knew how that would turn out. It ended up being Toby who had to try to pin me down. The group chuckled at the sight. Even Toby found the situation amusing. He was a little shorter than me and probably weighed about the same, but we carried our weight differently. We stepped out onto the rug by the pool door. "What's happening?" Jen asked as she and Robert returned, both looking a bit flustered. "Toby's going to take me down," I laughed. Toby awkwardly put his arm around my neck, trying to push me down. He then attempted a playful wrestling move. The issue was, I had wrestled in high school, and it was clear Toby had not. He tried a few more times, even attempting to lift my leg to tip me over. "I can't do it," Toby huffed, looking sweaty now. "No problem. It's tough for most," I chuckled. Toby steadied himself against the table, grabbing a bottle. He panted, "More! Kissing!" "Is that all?" Zach said, immediately realizing he might have spoken too soon. "Anywhere," Toby added, turning the bottle as he slumped back next to Kim. It felt like I was watching in slow motion. The bottle spun around. I was keenly aware of what anywhere meant. I glanced at the others. Linda looked her usual self, calm but uninterested. Kim was still biting her lip. Zach had an intense look on his face. Jen and Rob seemed uncaring. Amanda looked eager, almost hopeful. Finally, the bottle slowed and pointed at Kim. I gulped. The thought of my quirky, somewhat shy wife having to kiss someone anywhere made my heart race. Toby spun the bottle again. I silently wished for it to land on Linda. Please let it be her. But it didn't. It landed on Toby again. This time he wore a sly grin, clearly enjoying the moment. I felt a mix of emotions thinking about this guy making my girl kiss him. Kim kissing Linda felt just right. This felt all wrong. Kim looked at me, but I didn't want to seem hesitant. It was just a game. Toby wouldn't do anything beyond the game. So I gave her a smile and a nod. "You go, girl," Amanda cheered, though she seemed a bit jealous. Even Linda raised her fist in encouragement. What was going on? It felt like an eternity as Kim stood up, inhaled, took Toby's hands, and led him to the closet. She seemed excited about this kiss. Maybe she sensed the reactions from the other girls. Girls did have a knack for such things, right? I caught Linda and Amanda sharing a knowing smile. Zach looked annoyed. Jen and Robert didn't seem to notice anything odd. But that smile between Linda and Amanda made me curious. "What are you two giggling about?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Oh, it's nothing." "Jen, your turn to spin," Linda said, brushing off my question. "Seems like kissing is the new trend," Jen teased. Jen spun the bottle, and lo and behold, it pointed at Linda. I held my breath, thinking, please be me. And just like that, it was. I quickly got to my feet, maybe a bit too quickly. "So, where do you want your kiss, you cheeky guy?" Linda asked. "No, it's you who should get the kiss," Amanda replied. "Interesting. Well, since the closet is busy," Linda began, running her fingers in a playful way, "how about you give me a nice kiss right here?" Linda moved her top slightly, pointing to a spot and repeating, "Right here?" She glided across the floor and sat next to me since the space was now free. Linda was not one to hold back. She reached for my hair and gently pulled me closer. I quickly put my hands on her shoulders for support. As I leaned in, I gave her a quick kiss. She was quite charming. I just hoped Kim would be okay with everything. She did seem to have a fondness for Linda, too, the way they interacted. I felt a strange excitement thinking about them together. "Puff, whatever. She's just not for you," I heard Zach mumble. I turned my head up and looked at Linda, then back at Zach. "What did you say?" I asked calmly. "She's just not a real girl. You just kiss someone who isn't what you think," Zach shot back. "Zach, what's wrong with you?" Amanda said, looking confused by his words. I stared at him, then at Linda. I walked confidently over to him. He seemed pretty drunk, and it was making him act foolish. "What?" he said, acting innocent. I grabbed him by the collar and pulled him to his feet, dragging him away from the group. He complained, but I had nothing more to say to him. When we reached the door, I pushed him out and gave him a gentle push to hurry him along. "Get a cab. This is private property," I said, closing the door firmly. When I returned, I was greeted by cheers from the others, even Amanda. Kim and Toby were back and settled on their seats. Kim sat on my spot, looking a bit out of breath. How long had they been away? I couldn't recall. "For the record," I said, winking at Linda, "would." They all laughed, and I noticed Linda blush a little. I was mostly joking. I didn't really care either way. I sat down next to Kim, resting a hand on her knee. "What happened?" I asked while the others chatted. "Later," Kim whispered, her expression hinting at something more. Whatever took place had energized her. "Any more dares?" I asked. We went through a few more challenges. Robert had to give Amanda a playful slap. Amanda and Kim playfully slapped each other. I got to share a casual moment with Jen. "Let's take a fun photo for a lucky person," I said, spinning the bottle. It stopped on Toby. I was a bit uncertain about what would happen next. One part of me felt curious, wondering about the picture. I knew it might be strange, but I wanted to understand what the fuss was about. Maybe it was something impressive, or perhaps it wasn't. Another side of me wondered if Kim had seen it. The idea of my wife having a picture of our tenant felt odd, yet I couldn't help but think about it. The bottle finally pointed to Kim, and my heart raced. I was ready for the game to end, wanting to take her upstairs. Toby stood up and went to the closet again, returning quickly. I glanced at Kim, noticing her wide-eyed expression as she stared at her phone. "Pretty interesting, right?" Amanda said quietly. "All right, let's go," I told Kim, playfully pulling her up from the sofa. She laughed and squealed but didn't resist. Before heading upstairs, I called back, "Turn off the lights before you head to bed." Later that night, Kim woke me up, gently shaking me. "Are you awake?" she asked. She had been full of energy the night before, and now she seemed restless again. "What is it?" "Can I tell you something?" "What's on your mind?" "About the closet," she said softly. She hadn't talked about it until now, and I could sense her hesitation. She seemed to feel conflicted, perhaps both about what happened and how it made her feel. I sat up quickly. "Of course," I replied, ready to listen. Earlier that evening, I had been on edge as I closed the door behind us. Toby had been in luck all night, and now I felt like things were only getting more intense. I turned around to face him. He stood there looking confident. His shy demeanor had vanished, and now there was a smirk on his face. I felt uneasy but kept my composure. The others had been giggling after their time with Toby, and now I found myself in a similar situation. I took a step closer to him. "So, where do you want the kiss?" I asked quietly. Toby didn't respond. He had already decided. Without a word, he bent down and adjusted his sweatpants. He was gathering all his courage. "Oh, you want me to sit here?" I asked, stepping closer to him, trying to tease him a bit. I pointed to the spot he indicated, and he nodded eagerly. To make him even more flustered, knowing he was probably overwhelmed by the situation, I leaned in and whispered, "You want me to kneel down here in front of you?" He nodded again. Slowly, I knelt down, sitting back on my heels, giving him a playful smile. Linda and Amanda had definitely interacted with him earlier. Amanda especially had her fun during the game. I wondered if he was still thinking about that moment. As I sat there, I noticed he was clearly nervous. I could see the tension in his posture. It was like he didn't quite know what to do next. Toby's hand moved slightly, almost on instinct, as if he wasn't fully aware of what he was doing. I could tell he was trying to stay composed, but the situation was getting to him. "So, where do you want your kiss?" I asked again, looking up at him. Toby seemed to take my calmness as a signal to continue. I could see the awkwardness in his movements as he struggled to keep it together. He was clearly out of his depth, but too caught up in the moment to stop. You're so beautiful," Toby mumbled quietly. "Thank you," I replied with a soft smile. The whole situation felt surreal, and I could tell Toby was getting overwhelmed. He was still holding eye contact with me, his earlier shyness fading a bit. "Do you like having me here like this?" I asked gently, keeping the mood light. "Yes," Toby answered, his voice shaky. I knew things were getting intense, and I had to decide how far I wanted to let this go. It was clear Toby was caught up in the moment, but I also knew I needed to keep things under control. Curiosity got the better of me for a moment, but I reminded myself to keep the situation respectful and light-hearted. Deciding to tease him a little more and move things along, I leaned closer, letting him feel my breath. Toby groaned, clearly affected by the moment. "You're really eager, aren't you?" I said, inching closer. Toby was barely able to stand still, whispering, "Just kiss it." Without much thought, I leaned forward and gave him a quick peck, but as soon as I did, he reacted immediately. I was taken by surprise when he stumbled back, clearly overwhelmed by the situation. It took him a moment to catch his breath. I was a bit shocked by what had happened, unsure of what I was thinking. I hadn't expected things to unfold like that, but I guess I just reacted without really considering the outcome. It was a strange, unexpected moment. Later, while talking to Kim, I was still trying to process everything. "Wait, what? He got that close?" I asked, confused. Kim never acted this way. "Yeah, but don't worry, nothing serious happened," Kim said with a playful tone. She could tell I wasn't angry, just surprised. I mean, it was just a bit of fun, right? The morning after the party, Kim was still in a playful mood. Did you have fun last night? Kim asked, teasing me. Yeah, I muttered, still trying to shake off the awkwardness. Well, maybe you should have a bit of fun too, she said, giving me a mischievous look. If I can enjoy myself, why shouldn't you? It was clear Kim wanted to push the boundaries a bit, still teasing me from the night before. We both knew it was just playful banter, nothing more. Am I a hot wife now? Kim asked, her tone light. I groaned, knowing she was just trying to get a reaction from me. Kim always knew how to keep things playful, but I wasn't sure how far she would take the teasing. Maybe I'll send him a little something just to mess with him, she said with a grin. You know, as a thank you for his attention. You wouldn't do that, I said, half joking. Oh, you never know, Kim replied, laughing softly. It was all in good fun, and I knew she was just playing around. That was enough to push me over the edge as we laughed together, the tension from the night before finally easing away, and all over her hand. It was quite bold talk, and I couldn't focus anymore. I'm not sure if I really thought about it before, but the idea had me interested. Kim giggled and bit her lip. So are you really going to do it? I asked, curious about how serious she was. Nah, probably not, Kim replied, looking at her hand as she got up from the bed, trying not to spill anything. Just funny to see how you react when I tease you. Oh no, Toby said one morning. What's wrong? I asked, glancing up from my phone. It was early and we were having breakfast. Toby had college classes soon. I woke up early as usual. I didn't have much planned, just a trip to the dojo and the gym later, then college much later. My professor moved one of the classes, Toby said, scrolling through his phone. Really? I asked, still looking at my screen. Why can't we have politicians like that? I thought, seeing what some Europeans were up to. Yeah, I might be late. The class starts in 20 minutes, Toby said, sounding defeated. I snapped back to reality. I reached for the bowl where we kept the car keys and grabbed the one with an angry bull on it, sliding it across the kitchen counter. Take the Lambo, I said casually. I knew people worried about mileage on fancy cars, but I believed cars were meant to be used. Still, I should probably get a regular car someday. I don't have a license, Toby said, staring at the keys without touching them. I quickly moved around the counter and took the keys back, nodding for him to follow me as I walked down the hall. Come on, I'll drive you, I said. Oh, thanks, Toby said, grabbing his bag and hurrying after me. Not a problem, buddy, I chuckled, moving toward the hallway. Shouldn't you get dressed? Toby asked. I looked down. I was only in my bathrobe. Oh, well. Nah, I'm not getting out of the car anyway, I said. A few minutes later, we were speeding down the road. It felt a bit awkward at first, especially after what had happened on Saturday. I was hungover on Sunday, and I hadn't really seen Toby on Monday. My place was big, so it was easy to stay out of each other's way. Today was the first time I had really seen him since that night, but I wasn't the one to break the silence this time. How did you and Kim get married? Toby asked. I glanced over at him. He seemed focused on the road. I was driving fast, so maybe that helped him concentrate. Kim and I? We've been together for a long time, I replied. So when we decided to move in together, I asked her to marry me. How did you do it? Toby asked. After a fight? It was a boxing match, nothing silly. I proposed in the ring after I won, I explained, remembering how surprised she had been. You're a lucky guy, Toby said quietly. I don't think everything was meant for me to hear, but I did anyway. I guess I am. Kim is great. We both agree on that, right? I said, nudging Toby gently with my elbow and laughing. Toby smiled and nodded. Okay, here we are, safe and sound, I said as I parked in front of the main building where Toby had his programming classes. I had taken those classes too when I was their major. Oh no, Toby muttered. What? Did they change something again? I asked, looking at his phone. Toby pointed behind me. I turned around. A parking guard was already walking toward me. Don't worry. Go on in. I'll take care of it, I said with a sigh. Toby opened the car door and hurried away. He didn't have much time before class started. Hey, you can't park here, the guard said. I just gave someone a ride, relax, I explained. Hey, Josh, what are you doing here? A familiar voice called out. Amanda was coming over. The guard seemed mesmerized by Amanda's looks. She was a striking blonde and confident in her approach, making it hard not to notice her presence. The guard started to stutter, clearly flustered. Yes, well, I want you gone in 5 minutes. Josh, the guard said, now knowing my name. He walked off. I was just dropping Toby off. They changed his classes or something, I explained to Amanda. I wanted our conversation to end quickly, but I didn't want to be rude, especially since she had helped me avoid a parking ticket. Amanda's gaze noted my outfit. Yeah, we were in a hurry, I said with a chuckle. So Toby is safe for now? Amanda asked. Yeah, why? I replied, a bit confused. Zach was not happy about it. He left a dozen calls and even more texts. About getting kicked out? I asked, still trying to understand. No, more about the whole Toby situation. How can you be okay with it? You know how guys can be? Come on, it was just some fun, I said, brushing it off. Well, you're more understanding than Zach. He talks big but is really insecure. Just be careful around Toby. Some girls might get the wrong idea, Amanda said with a laugh. I just shook my head. Yeah, well, I was distracted too, so I guess we're even, I replied, trying to wrap up the conversation. Do you really think she is who people say she is? Amanda asked, leaning in, clearly intrigued by the gossip. What does that matter? It's her life, I replied firmly, making my point clear. She got the message. 5 minutes, I said. It's been 10, the parking guard shouted, waving a fresh ticket at me. I sighed. University had been demanding and made it hard to focus on other things. I'm eagerly waiting for my master's program to end so I can reach out to my contact in Venice again. They want me to visit for some important document signings, take pictures, and sample products. It's always nice to meet the people you work with. Maybe these Italians aren't so bad after all. But that's a thought for another time. Right now I have other things to focus on. I turned my head to see the office door slowly open. It wasn't Kim, as she was next to me playing a game, or rather, it looked like she was writing a game analysis. I rolled my chair back and noticed Toby standing there looking a bit nervous. Hey, what's up? I said, removing my headphones. Kim didn't turn her head. She just glanced at me for a moment, then looked back at her screen. Oh, Toby stammered, seeming a bit taken aback. I wanted to swim. The pool is downstairs, I replied with a chuckle. And yes, you can use it. We mentioned this when you moved in. No, it's not that. I'm not a great swimmer. Toby glanced at Kim for a moment. So he was perhaps feeling shy and didn't want to look bad in front of her. At first I thought he was just trying to impress her. Instead, he was just feeling awkward. I rolled my chair back and stepped into the stairwell, putting my arm around his shoulder. Don't worry about it. It's smart to not swim alone. I'll be there to help you. Maybe we can find a swimming coach? I suggested, guiding him toward the stairs. No, thanks, but I think I just need to, get used to it. Getting ready for summer, huh? I laughed, lightly patting my own stomach, which was hidden beneath my t-shirt. Toby looked at me and replied, yeah, something like that. I was surprised I hadn't been kicked out yet. Kimberly must have told Josh about what happened that day, yet everything felt normal again. I was still here, and for some reason Josh hadn't confronted me, which I appreciated. So there I was, standing outside their office again on Monday morning. Kimberly was inside, immersed in her game. She spoke loudly and energetically, reacting to the game with excitement, and was completely unaware of my presence. She was so focused, laughing and cheering for her teammates, not noticing me at all. With Josh not around, I felt a little bold. Like earlier, I slowly reached my hand toward my waistband, feeling a rush of excitement. I observed her closely, feeling whirled up with emotions. I wished for a moment that she could see me and feel the same intensity. I had been thinking of ways to see Kimberly more often, especially after almost being caught by Josh last week. Though they were understanding, I knew I couldn't risk it again. I needed to be smarter. So I came up with a plan. It wasn't often that Kimberly left the house except for short grocery trips. Today was one of those rare days. I had about 30 minutes alone in the house. Instead of wasting time on foolish ideas, I focused on my plan. I went upstairs into their office carrying a small USB stick. Quietly, I slipped it into the USB port under Kimberly's desk, careful not to make a sound. It felt like solving a puzzle, but once it was done, the next part of my plan could unfold. Resisting the urge to linger, I went back to my room and waited for Kimberly to return. About an hour later, I heard her in the kitchen, frustrated. She seemed to be struggling with her computer. I moved closer to listen. "I have no idea what's going on," she said, sounding annoyed. "It just stopped working." I casually entered the kitchen. "Everything all right?" I asked, pretending to be concerned. Kimberly turned to me, motioning for silence as she talked on the phone. "No! I already tried restarting the router. I've got a game in an hour," she said, clearly irritated. "Need any help?" I offered, trying to seem helpful. Kimberly sighed, her frustration not aimed at me this time. "Yeah, no. The internet on my PC is down. I'll figure it out. How was the university?" she asked, though clearly distracted. She was already heading upstairs. I watched her walk by, noticing her perfume. It lingered lightly in the air. "Can I help?" I asked again. "Sure," she said, still not paying much attention. I followed her up the stairs, not wanting to miss the chance to assist. "Did you try unplugging the cable and reconnecting it?" I suggested once we entered the office. Kimberly shrugged, looking tired of the whole situation. I stepped back, giving her space as she crouched down to check the cables. She knelt on the carpet and crawled under the desk. From where I stood, I couldn't help but notice how the fabric of her jeans stretched as she moved. Blue suited her well. Her loose t-shirt hung low, and I could even see the color of her bra. I tried to focus on something else, but my mind kept drifting back. I had to keep my cool, but it wasn't easy. "The cord is a bit stuck," Kimberly groaned. I tried to focus on her words, but my mind wandered. Taking a breath, I carefully pulled out my phone and snapped a quick picture of her under the desk. It felt like a risky move, but I couldn't resist. Unfortunately, I was getting too distracted, and it was obvious something was happening that she might notice. "Got it," she said, crawling out from under the desk. As Kimberly stood up, I tried to act normal. She had been helping with the internet cable, and I knew she could tell I had been distracted. I needed to stay composed, but it was getting harder to do. I realized Kimberly probably knew I was just trying to get her to crawl under the table. We had been talking more openly lately, so maybe that's why she played along. Still, a part of me wondered what she thought about my behavior. Kimberly sat back on her knees, holding the cable and looking up at me. "You want me to blow on this cable?" she asked with a playful smile, clearly teasing. I stood frozen, not sure how to respond. She knew exactly what she was doing, playing along with the situation. She waved the cable a bit, and I just stood there, caught up in the moment. Then, she lightly blew on the tip of the cable, still holding eye contact. I couldn't help but feel a bit nervous, but she wasn't taking it too seriously, just having a bit of fun. "Everything all right?" she asked. I nodded, not sure what else to say. Seeing that I wasn't making any moves, Kimberly stood up, breaking the tension. She took a step back and offered, "I can check your PC and see what's wrong." And just like that, the playful moment passed, and we returned to fixing the issue. Toby mumbled that he would fix it in half an hour, maybe an hour at most, while glancing away. I began to walk toward the door, taking my time. "Get to it, big guy," I said with a playful smile over my shoulder. "I'll go for a swim and shower if you need anything." It was amusing to tease him like that. His eyes widened in surprise. I couldn't help but laugh a little. Toby laughed too, probably realizing I was just joking. But I couldn't help wondering what it might be like. I would be in the shower in the same house as him, with no one else around. It made me curious. I didn't head to the pool right away. I needed to call Josh. I told him Toby was here fixing my problem. Then I shared how I had playfully crawled around in front of him. Josh found that part really entertaining. "Wow! You won't let me tell you how amazing you are, yet you're teasing this guy now?" Josh said, sounding excited on the phone. "Oh, come on, this is different," I replied. I liked Josh's compliments, but sometimes they made me uncomfortable. He acted like I was a model, but I saw myself as a regular girl. Maybe that's why teasing Toby felt nice. He reacted so openly to my playful banter. He didn't say much, but his expressions said it all. "How is it different?" Josh asked. "Seriously?" I said jokingly. "You're the one who should tell me those things." "Well, now you have two guys noticing you all day," he said. "Quit it," I replied, but I couldn't ignore that I felt a little flattered. "I'm going to swim and wash off," I said. "All right, take care. Love you, babe." "Love you too." After a good swim, I felt much better. Exercise was great for clearing my mind. When I came back, instead of going to my own bathroom, I went to the one near the kitchen. It was more convenient. Plus, my room and clean clothes were just a short walk up the stairs. It was still early spring, so a warm shower after swimming felt nice. The warm water felt good on my skin and made me relax. Growing up, I had to be careful with hot water to save money, but that wasn't an issue now. Even with our budget concerns, daily expenses were manageable. As I finished rinsing out my hair, I grabbed a towel from the rack. I took my time drying off, enjoying the warmth. Just then, I heard the bathroom door open, followed by some movement and the door closing with a soft sound. I heard a soft sound followed by a quiet, satisfied sigh. Then there were repeated rhythmic sounds. Through the slightly blurred shower wall, I could make out a silhouette facing the toilet. His t-shirt was rolled up and his pants were pulled down. It was Toby. Was Toby really doing this on the other side of the shower wall? For some reason, I didn't say anything. It wasn't unusual for someone to want some privacy, but curiosity crept in. Had he been thinking of me? I wondered if he was replaying moments from earlier, maybe when I had bent over in front of him. My mind raced with questions. Instead of stepping away, I found myself drawn in, not sure why I felt the need to understand what was going through his mind. Maybe it was the thought that he couldn't resist thinking about me. The idea felt oddly flattering, though I knew most would consider it strange. I realized I had been walking around the house in comfortable clothes, often just in my shirt and underwear. Could that have caught his attention? Did I leave any clothes out here? My mind snapped back to reality as I remembered I had placed them in the laundry basket by the sink. Carefully, I peeked around the half wall to check. Luckily, the basket's lid was on, hiding my clothes. But instead of backing away, I hesitated, my curiosity getting the better of me. I leaned a little farther around the corner. Slowly, the blurred silhouette became clearer. There was Toby, with his sweatpants around his ankles and his shirt rolled up. He looked so focused on what he was doing, lost in the moment. I wondered again what had gotten him so worked up. Was it me? Suddenly, Toby turned and saw me. His eyes went wide with shock, and he let out a startled yelp, stumbling backward towards the door, clearly caught off guard. "Sorry, I didn't realize," he stammered, clearly embarrassed. Toby gasped, "Ew, didn't see you!" "It's okay, relax," I said from behind the shower wall, trying to ease the tension. "Everyone needs their privacy sometimes, and like you said, it was an accident. You didn't mean to." Toby still looked stunned, his face pale with worry. "Seriously, it's fine," I reassured him. I didn't want to interrupt, so I stayed out of sight. "Really? I'm not in trouble?" Toby asked, his voice shaky. "Of course not. Everything's fine," I replied, reaching for the towel on the rack across the room, but I couldn't quite grab it without stepping out. Turning my back to him, I tried to keep my modesty. I wasn't embarrassed about my body, but fully exposing myself would definitely cross a line. However, I still needed the towel, and Toby was still frozen near the door. "Toby, could you hand me the towel? I'll turn around," I asked, trying to stay calm. I knew he might sneak a glance, but I kept facing the other way, hoping to keep things as innocent as possible. I heard him shuffle closer and pause. He was probably hesitating, unsure of what to do. Finally, he handed me the towel, his breath uneven, as if the situation had gotten to him. "Here," he mumbled. I grabbed the towel, quickly wrapped it around myself, and stepped out of the shower. Toby, still awkwardly standing near the door, didn't leave right away. It seemed like he was unsure if he should stay or go. Deciding to keep things light, I teased him a little. "So, what were you thinking about?" I asked with a playful smile. His face turned bright red. "Ooh, I get it," I continued, glancing at him. "Were you thinking about Amanda?" "No," Toby blurted out, surprised. "Jen, then?" I teased again, tilting my head. "No," he stammered. "Ah, maybe Linda? She's pretty," I said, trying not to laugh. Toby hesitated, clearly embarrassed. I was thinking." He trailed off, too shy to finish. I stepped out fully, looking at him expectantly, letting the moment hang in the air, but still keeping things lighthearted. I wanted to hear him say what he was thinking, but instead, Toby backed away, almost as if he was afraid to come too close. He could sneak glances when I wasn't looking, but when we were face to face, he became so shy and quiet. Thinking about what? I asked, letting him finish. About you, Toby finally muttered, so quietly I could barely hear him. What's that? I asked again, wanting him to speak clearly. It too was thinking about you, he stammered, still looking down at the floor. Aw, I said, though I could tell he thought I might be teasing him. I wasn't sure if I was, but I couldn't help pushing the conversation just a little further now that I had the answer I was curious about. You didn't have to stop, I said, softening my voice. Toby's eyes met mine, wide with surprise. Like I said, it's normal. In front of you? He asked, his voice full of disbelief. If you want to, I replied casually. It's not like it's a big deal. I wasn't sure where this was all coming from. I wasn't doing anything inappropriate. I was just there. I wasn't going to help him, but I felt strangely comfortable with the situation. Toby, however, didn't do anything at first. He just stood there, unsure of what to do. So, are you going to or not? I asked, a little more impatient than I intended. Finally, Toby moved, hesitantly starting to follow my words, though still unsure if it was really okay. He was so cautious, but I just watched, letting the moment unfold. Toby's nervousness slowly faded as he became more confident, his eyes glancing at me as he continued. I could tell he was still surprised by the whole situation, and part of me couldn't help but feel a bit amused by how things had turned out. As he got more comfortable, I noticed him glancing at my towel. I don't know what came over me, but without thinking, I dropped the towel down to my waist. Toby's eyes went wide, and he looked completely stunned. Like what you see? I asked, keeping my tone light. He nodded, clearly overwhelmed. They're perfect, Toby managed to say, still looking astonished. I smiled, realizing just how far things had gone, but still keeping the mood calm and casual. It was just a strange, unexpected moment between us. I couldn't help but smile at his compliment. But if he were to see some of mine, I wanted a closer look at some of his. It was only fair. Besides, I was starting to feel lightheaded standing here. So slowly, I lowered myself down onto my knees, never breaking eye contact with him as he moved closer. It felt exhilarating to be in this position, seeing him react to me. Show me how much you enjoy this, I encouraged, curious about what he was thinking. He seemed to get more excited now. My presence and the way I was talking to him were certainly having an effect. Here I was, sitting in front of him, making things more intense. Do you like what you see? I asked, trying to gauge his reaction. I felt a rush of excitement. Seeing this younger guy responding to me was thrilling. I could feel a sense of being wanted, something I hadn't experienced like this before. It reminded me of how Josh is with his admirers, though he never seemed to act on it. In a way, I was stepping outside my comfort zone, too. Saying his name seemed to trigger something in him. He was captivated and didn't take his eyes off me. I shifted a bit to give him a better view, wanting to pique his interest more. As I watched him, I noticed his excitement was building. I leaned in slightly, looking deep into his eyes. Let go and embrace the moment, I whispered gently, hoping to encourage him. He let out a deep breath, his whole body seeming to vibrate with anticipation. It was clear he was fully immersed in the experience. It was surprising how much energy was flowing between us, and I could see it in his eyes. I was fascinated by how much this connection meant to him. It felt warm and alive in a way that was hard to describe. I couldn't help but feel a thrill at being part of his experience. The whole moment had transformed into something special, shared between us. The room felt quiet, and I realized it was over. Toby, now completely exhausted, was catching his breath. I glanced up at him and he met my eyes, looking a bit awkward after everything that had just happened. All right, you can leave now. I need to clean up, I said, trying to sound casual. But feeling a little bad for how abrupt I was, I decided to give him something as a gesture. I reached for the laundry basket and pulled out my blue spandex shorts, handing them to him. Here, take this, I said awkwardly. Toby gave a small smile, took them, and quietly left the room. I jumped into the shower to rinse off, thinking about the strange encounter. I wasn't sure what to make of it. I had never actually crossed any lines. It wasn't cheating. I was just there. I hadn't done anything wrong. But there was a strange thrill in the moment, knowing how much attention I had from Toby. As I washed off, I found myself thinking about Josh, my husband. He was always the confident one in our relationship. He never acted on the attention he got from other women, but I knew plenty of them admired him. I guess I was lucky to have him all to myself. He had always been loyal, and maybe that's why I felt comfortable being a little daring with Toby. Later, when I told Josh what had happened, he laughed and played along. He knew Toby and I were just playing harmless games, and it didn't really bother him. We had agreed to keep it that way, nothing more than a little fun. As long as Toby stayed respectful, there was no harm done. Josh and I joked about it sometimes, saying that Kim was just helping Toby settle into our home. It was a silly excuse, but it worked. Toby hadn't crossed any lines either, and we were careful to make sure things stayed harmless. Kim wasn't the type to do anything like that anyway. She just liked to tease him a little, keeping things light. About a week later, Toby seemed to be feeling more at home. He was still shy but more present, spending more time in the kitchen and the library downstairs, probably hoping to see more of Kim. "You're doing great, Toby." I cheered him on as he swam in the pool, practicing his strokes. I was keeping an eye on him as he stayed in the shallow end, improving his swimming technique. It seemed like everything was settling into a normal routine again. Toby's main problem was that he had a hard time staying afloat. He spat out water and nodded, snorting out the water that went up his nose. His lips were starting to turn blue, so maybe it was time to stop. 60 degrees felt okay, but getting out of the pool was always tough. I glanced at the clock. Oh no, I really had to hurry. I needed to drive to Indianapolis to catch a flight. If there was a chance for a trip to Italy coming up, I wanted to have a nice suit ready. The trip wasn't happening soon, but it felt good to be ready. The only downside was that Toby and Kim would be alone in the house overnight. I wasn't too concerned about it, but recent events made me feel a bit uneasy. Not really worried, just a little strange. But I also felt a bit excited to see how things might unfold. I just hoped everything would be fine for Kim. "Okay, kiddo, I need to go." "Go get dried off," I said, grabbing a towel for him. Toby usually changed in the pool house, but he had started changing in his room more often and walking through the house in his swim trunks. Was he showing off? He didn't really have the build for it, but if the rumors were true, he might feel confident about something else. Was he doing it for Kim's attention? I chuckled to myself. Kim never cared about those things, even if she had seen him a couple of times. I handed the towel to Toby and gave him a quick look. It was hard to tell what he was hiding under those trunks, and I didn't want to be caught staring. Just let it be, I thought. It didn't matter. I playfully slapped his back and went inside, where I found Kim waiting for me in the kitchen. She was always the punctual one. "Are you boys finally done?" she asked, flipping through a magazine while she waited. Kim was wearing a bright red, short faux leather jacket, a white t-shirt, and casual jeans. She wasn't shy about using makeup, but it surprised me to see her with lipstick on and a bit more mascara than usual. "Is that new lipstick? Which one did you get?" I asked. Kim always blushed when I complimented her, especially when she made an effort. Her lipstick matched her jacket perfectly. "It's just preppy red. I don't know the brand, I just ordered it on Amazon," she said, trying to downplay it, but she was smiling because I noticed. "It looks great with your jacket. It almost reminds me of the styles we want to make in Italy for Entrendy," I said, looking at her outfit. Entrendy was the name of our clothing company. "That was the plan," Kim said with a smile. So she did put thought into it. She looked really good. "Hurry up and get dressed. We need to leave soon." I nodded and went upstairs, giving a quick nod to Toby as he walked by. I stood in the middle of our bedroom, looking at myself in the mirror. I had just finished my shower after dropping Josh off at the airport. Now I stood in front of the mirror, my hair still wet and wrapped in a towel, while the rest of me was completely bare. I slowly placed my hand on my chest, taking a moment to feel my shape. They weren't the largest, but I thought they were nice. I shifted my gaze to my hips. They were a bit wide, but not very muscular. I had some strength from jogging and swimming, but I wasn't overly defined. I wouldn't call myself petite, yet I wasn't particularly large either. I didn't have a big backside, but I thought it looked pretty good. My face had been called cute and sometimes even exotic. I had olive skin and brown eyes. With the right makeup, I could look quite nice, especially with some red lipstick. I knew that I was attractive, but I never really saw myself as hot, no matter what Josh said. Maybe I was. It seemed that I had caught Toby's attention, and that made me feel wanted. Am I really hot? I wondered to myself, analyzing my appearance. It felt strange to think about myself like this, but recent events had sparked some curiosity. It was tough for me to view myself that way, especially since Josh was always seen as the handsome one. I knew I wasn't unattractive. I was fit from my swimming and jogging. Josh often complimented me, and I felt confident in my looks, so maybe I had just become too much of a homebody to notice. I rarely dressed up at home and only wore makeup when we were going out, but that was just how I preferred to be. I thought that I should do something nice for Toby. Sure, he had enjoyed some moments with me, but we both benefited from it. He had fixed my computer issues, and I wanted him to know I appreciated it. I put on some tight black boxers and turned away from the mirror. I aimed my phone to take a quick picture, capturing my back with the wet hair covering most of it. I wrote a simple message. Thanks for helping with my computer. Here's a little treat. Don't tell Josh. Before I could second-guess myself, I sent the message to Toby. I felt a rush of excitement. Of course, I would share it with Josh later, but for now, this little playful side felt fun, especially knowing how Toby might react. I lay in my bed, examining the picture on my phone. In my other hand, I held the boxers Toby had given me. I couldn't help but think about how this playful exchange made the day feel a bit different. Kimberly's soft fabric felt nice against my skin as I rubbed it. At first, I thought about keeping it as a special reminder, but I couldn't help myself. Kimberly was just too amazing. Now I had something of hers, which made the moment even better. She treated me kindly, even now. Or maybe she knew what she was doing. Why else would she give me her things? Did Kimberly want me to think about her? She hinted at it when she watched me earlier, and then she sent me that picture. I could sense she was interested. "Oh, Kimberly," I whispered in my room. I felt overwhelmed by emotions and thoughts about her. I wished she could see how much she affected me and how good I felt. Afterward, I felt so tired. Wow, Kimberly, you really wore me out, I thought before I fell asleep. Later, I was sitting in our living room watching a movie about some nuns when I heard Toby moving around in the kitchen. I was surprised to see him up so late since I was close to going to bed. I got off the floor where I like to sit against the sofa and saw him looking for a snack. "Can't sleep?" I called out. Toby grunted in response, so I sat back down. "Something like that. I napped earlier, so I'm wide awake," Toby said, closing the fridge. He seemed more relaxed now. I patted the couch next to me, inviting him to sit and watch the rest of the movie. Toby hesitated, but then moved over, glancing at the large TV. "What are you watching?" he asked. "Just a movie about some nuns," I explained. "Is it good?" "It's called Benedetto. They're supposed to be Italian, but everyone speaks French. At least it's interesting," I said. I didn't want to analyze it too much. "Interesting?" Toby asked. "Yeah, I can't get into a historical movie if the characters aren't intriguing. Don't you like interesting stories?" I joked lightly. "No, I mean yes," Toby replied quietly. "Well, it's getting more interesting," I said, looking back at the screen. "Don't just stand there. Sit down if you want to watch." I didn't turn to look at him, but I sensed him moving closer and sitting down a few feet away. Kimberly had joked about the movie being about two intriguing characters. The only person I wanted to watch it with was sitting just a short distance from me. Even in her casual black shirt and flannel pajama pants, Kimberly had a presence that drew attention. She was focused on her game, her eyes occasionally squinting as things happened on the screen. She wasn't wearing any makeup, but she didn't need it. She was naturally beautiful. At first, I tried to focus on the movie playing, wanting to avoid being a total creep. Kimberly didn't seem to notice, nor would she likely judge me if she did. Still, my eyes drifted to her, and I couldn't help but glance down at her. All I could see was her shoulders and the top of her chest, but I imagined what it would look like without the shirt. My thoughts wandered, and I tried to shake them off, but it was difficult. I felt embarrassed as my body reacted, and I hoped she wouldn't notice. I shifted slightly, trying to adjust myself, careful not to draw attention. Just then, Kimberly turned a little, but her eyes remained on the screen. I let out a quiet sigh of relief. But then, Kimberly spoke. "Listen, Toby," she said firmly, turning to sit on her knees facing me. "I know things have been awkward, but it's fine. We've told you it's okay. You don't have to act all uncomfortable." Her words caught me off guard, and I didn't know how to respond. She gave me a side look, a small smirk on her face, as if challenging me to either relax or take action. For the next few minutes, I tried to keep calm and focus on the movie, but it was impossible to concentrate. I wasn't sure what to do, but I could feel the tension in the air. A few minutes passed, and I didn't hear anything from her, but curiosity started to get the better of me. I glanced back, and there was Toby looking at me with a smirk. He seemed more confident now, as if he was waiting for me to make the next move. I decided to just focus on the moment, taking in the strange but oddly calm atmosphere between us. Instead of pushing further, we both just sat there, letting the awkwardness fade into the background. I couldn't look away. It was captivating, watching him, focused and intent. Toby seemed completely absorbed in what he was doing. The way he moved was almost mechanical, but there was an intensity in the air. Suddenly, Toby stood up, and for a moment I thought it was over. But when he moved the coffee table aside, I realized he was just shifting closer. It seemed like he thought this was part of a routine now. I didn't say anything, but a part of me didn't mind. There was something about the situation that felt raw and primal, though I couldn't fully understand it. Remaining where I was, I let my eyes travel up his figure, feeling oddly detached, yet somehow involved. I knew this was strange, but something about the moment kept me grounded. "Are you going to keep going?" I asked quietly, curious but calm. Toby didn't respond with words, just a nod and a focused expression. As I sat there, I found myself feeling a little more involved, though I tried to stay distant. It was a strange mix of emotions, but I knew I wasn't going to let things go too far. This was already far enough. I stayed still, trying to process what was happening, while Toby continued, caught up in the moment. My mind was racing, and I wasn't sure what to think, but I felt like I was in control, even if the situation was unusual. When it was all over, there was a strange sense of calm between us, as if the moment had passed and we both knew it was time to move on. Toby stood there for a second before stepping back, and I finally looked away, ready to put the whole thing behind me. This odd chapter had come to an end, and though it left me confused, I knew it was something that wouldn't happen again. At first, I thought Toby might be trying to get closer, but he was just making sure not to miss. I felt the warmth on my face, cheeks, and chin, and even a little on my lips. His hand steadied himself, and I felt a small bit reach my mouth, but I quickly brushed it away, letting it join the rest. Finally, he was done. With a few last movements, Toby took a step back. Before I could think, I gently held his arm for just a second and gave him a quick, playful peck on his hand. He shuddered, and I let out a quiet laugh, realizing how sensitive he must be. He stepped away, probably both surprised and relieved. "See? All better," I said with a reassuring smile. He made a small noise in response, clearly still catching his breath. Afterward, I cleaned up at the sink. Toby had already disappeared, probably retreating to his room. The next morning arrived, and Josh would be back soon. I had spoken to him the night before and mentioned that I had something to tell him. We joked around on the phone, but I hadn't given him any details, promising to share when he got home. That morning, I woke up around 11. Some might call me lazy, but I had my own schedule and wasn't in any rush. After making an espresso, I heard the sound of bare feet in the hallway. It was Toby. My thoughts briefly drifted, but I shook them off, reminding myself to stay focused. I turned back to the espresso machine, acting as if it was just a normal morning. Toby entered the kitchen, and there was an awkward shuffle as he stood between the island and the fridge. He seemed like he wanted to say something, but all that came out was a quiet, I turned to face him, wondering what he needed, but my eyes couldn't help but glance at him briefly. Toby didn't enter the kitchen like he normally did. As soon as he walked in, there was an awkward tension. I noticed something off the way he stood, the look on his face, and an obvious bulge in his sweatpants. He gave me an awkward smile, and I couldn't help but think, "Really? Are you going to make this a regular thing?" I asked, folding my arms and raising an eyebrow. I hadn't even changed out of the clothes I slept in, yet here he was, clearly expecting something. Toby looked surprised, maybe even a little embarrassed. I chuckled to myself. He had taken liberties, and I wasn't sure if he realized how bold he was being. "Would you let me?" he asked, catching me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't want to give him the impression that this was acceptable, but I didn't want to make it too serious either. I responded with a vague, non-committal answer, keeping the mood light. Toby seemed to take that as permission, but I wasn't about to fully engage. I realized maybe I'd given him the wrong idea, but I wasn't going to let it go too far. "So, what's your plan?" I asked, my tone challenging but playful. "You sure?" Toby muttered, hesitating. I didn't say anything, just raised my eyebrows in expectation. After a pause, Toby slowly moved his hands to his waistband, clearly unsure. He hesitated again, looking at me for confirmation. It hit me that he was looking for something familiar, something we'd done before. I sighed, not really surprised. "Of course," I said, lowering myself to sit, keeping the situation as neutral as possible. Toby made an awkward joke, and I couldn't help but laugh a little. He was clearly trying to keep things light, even though this whole scenario was strange. "So, this is what you want?" I asked, noticing his eagerness. He nodded, still hesitant but moving forward cautiously. I didn't push it further, keeping the atmosphere calm and casual. It was just another odd moment between us, one that I wasn't going to let get out of hand. While I didn't mind helping him stay calm, I knew this wasn't something that could become a routine. I sat back, trying to clear my head. Toby was focused, lost in his own world. I needed to keep my thoughts from drifting, but it was difficult with the way the situation had unfolded. I reminded myself to stay grounded. There was nothing else to do but keep the atmosphere calm and straightforward. We had already gone too far with awkwardness, and I wasn't about to let it escalate further. Suddenly, Toby seemed to have finished whatever he was caught up in. There was a moment of silence, and I reached for my phone, trying to distract myself from what had just happened. Toby handed it to me, and I took it with a nod of thanks. "Thanks," I said quietly, trying to return to normal. While I had gotten used to seeing Kimberly around, her presence still had a strong effect on me. There were moments where I wished for more than just glimpses, but I had to be careful. Josh had returned home a few days ago, and any thought of pushing boundaries had to be put aside. With Kimberly and Josh out of the house, I wandered a bit, exploring their space. The house was large and open, with rooms that overlooked the backyard and pool area. The design of the house made everything feel connected, but it also gave me a strange sense of freedom to look around. Kimberly's wardrobe was impressive, filled with a mix of elegant dresses and casual clothes. Everything seemed high-end, but there were simpler pieces too. It made sense for someone like her to have such variety, but I couldn't help but wonder what her life was really like behind closed doors. I lingered for a moment longer before deciding it was time to leave. I had seen enough and didn't want to overstep any more than I already had, but I only needed one thing. I quickly found her stash. It was where she kept her clothes. I opened the first drawer and was surprised. How many pairs does someone need? I wondered, looking at the large drawer. But I pushed that thought aside. I thought about taking a navy blue pair, but remembered Kimberly rarely used those. So I decided on some comfortable boxer shorts instead. I could picture them looking nice on her. I picked up a red one. Instead of leaving, I kept looking around. I thought, when in Rome, even though I was in a much better place. It made sense to explore their room a bit. It was very big, taking up most of this side of the floor. The bedroom was just one part of it. They had a huge bathroom, but I didn't want to go in there because it was too deep into their space. I wouldn't hear them coming. They also had two big closets, one on each side of the bed. One belonged to Kimberly, and the other was for Josh, I guessed. I didn't check. I just looked around Kimberly's side. I sat down on her side of the large bed. The bed had a modern design, with stylish bedding and a soft white covering. I picked up her pillow and took a breath. It smelled warm and sweet. "Kimberly," I whispered into her pillow. I felt a small thrill. I carefully put the pillow back and went to find another pair of boxers. I planned to keep the ones I had for later. I needed one to use right away. It was early May and the weather was nice, almost 70 degrees. Not as warm as Florida, but enough for me and Kim to enjoy a small picnic. We both came from Michigan, so this felt warm to us. We took the fancy black Rolls-Royce today because it had more space for our things than the other cars. I really needed a regular vehicle. The park was a little far from our house, but it reminded us of the park near where we grew up, where we had shared our first kiss. That's why we liked coming here. It wasn't the same, but it felt familiar, with some fountains and nicely trimmed grass. It was sloped just right. We had that at home, but it felt nicer to take a trip. We do? I asked, joking. Yes. Hope's branded cars, remember? Kim laughed, looking at me with a smile. You signed the papers. I'm joking, Kim. Come on. Here, take a grape, I said, reaching for some blue grapes from the basket. Yes, we did it the classic way, with a picnic basket and a checkered blanket. I thought we should have taken the old E-Type instead, but it was too late now. Kim scooted closer and lay on her side, resting against me. She playfully said, "Feed me," and started laughing. I shook my head while I tried to give her a grape. Kim held back her laughter long enough to take one. So when was your trip to Italy? Kim asked. It's not set in stone yet, Kim, but I really want those leather jackets in our store. I hope to go there, sort things out, and maybe find a way to get some products shipped from Europe, too. Maybe from Italy? I said, feeling excited. A business trip? Sounds a little dull, Kim replied. What if we find a place there? You know, for fun. That's the idea. If everything goes as planned after the big meeting, I'll go there and handle the serious stuff. Then you could come for our anniversary, I suggested. Kim smiled. Sounds good to me, she beamed. Finally a trip to Europe, huh? Who knows what souvenirs we might find? Shirts, shot glasses, maybe a little place in Naples? You never know, I joked. Kim giggled. Slow down there, big guy. Let's take it one step at a time, Kim said. I nodded, watching some kids play frisbee nearby. Kim then lay down on my chest and sighed happily. I did too. We relaxed like this for a while, enjoying the warm spring sun, listening to birds sing and smelling the flowers. I picked a few blades of fresh grass and twisted them in my fingers. We've come far, right? Kim asked, looking up at me while shielding her eyes from the sun with her hand. We have, I agreed. We should celebrate, Kim suggested. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Party this weekend? We said almost at the same time. That reminds me, Kim said, lowering her voice a little. Do you know what I found in the laundry? I shook my head. My clothes! But I swear it wasn't me who wore them, Kim said, looking at me to see my reaction. Quickly I replied, Really? Do you think Toby's wearing your shorts? Aren't they a bit small for him? Kim burst out laughing, nudging my shoulder and squirming in my lap. By the pool, we had a few sections set up. If you stood by the kitchen door, you would see the pool house on your right, with a grill, table, and comfy lounge chairs. Behind that was the entrance to the lawn and tennis court. On your left, by the pool, was a small covered deck. We hadn't really used it much, but now we finally found a purpose for it. For the party, maybe not the smartest idea, we bought a new pool table and set it up on the deck. There was enough space for chairs to be around it, too. I couldn't remember why we built that deck, but now it had a use. Can you pose like that? I asked, as Kim stood next to the pool table while I positioned myself across from her, trying to capture her beautiful smile. We were having a photo shoot, taking fun pictures just for ourselves. Kim smiled at me, showing her bright white teeth. She wore a red leather jacket over a white t-shirt and loose jeans. Even without trying, Kim looked fantastic. These pictures could easily go in a magazine. Kim placed her hands on the table, and with the pool behind her and the light brown wooden beams slightly blurred, she seemed to glow in the camera's view. That smile made her look even better. Stop daydreaming and do your job, Mr. Photographer, Kim said, grinning playfully. I took the picture as she asked. Let's take a profile shot, I suggested, eager to capture the moment. Kim stood tall, turned her body slightly while still looking at the camera. I zoomed in enough to have her shoulders in the frame and clicked. Then she pretended to wonder about something, and I snapped another photo. That's nice, I said. Try to bite your bottom lip just like that. I quickly took a few more pictures before putting the camera down. I had enjoyed the view long enough. What are you planning, big guy? Kim joked, squinting her eyes a bit as I stepped closer. I wrapped one arm around her and gently held her neck with my other hand, leaning in for a kiss. Kim smiled softly against my lips, and I felt a strong connection. After a moment, I turned her around, keeping the mood light and fun. Wow, Josh, really? Kim said playfully as I moved close to her. Sorry, I can't help it. You're really amazing, I replied, keeping it casual. It felt adventurous to be so carefree, even in our own backyard. I stayed close to her, enjoying the moment. "Are we practicing for later?" Kim teased, making me smile. I leaned in closer, feeling excited about what she might mean. I felt happy and lighthearted, wanting to show her how much she meant to me. "Now let's get ready for when the guests arrive. Did you invite Luna and the others?" I asked. "Luna is my younger sister, visiting to check out a college. If she decided to go, she could stay with us, which would help her a lot. College was already taken care of, thanks to my support. Family means everything to me." Luna had been against it at first, but I eventually made the final decision, and that was that. She wanted to stay independent, which was okay with me. I would never hold that against her. In some ways, Luna was like Kim. They both loved gaming. But while Luna enjoyed drawing and watching anime, Kim was more into serious gaming and didn't care much for the fandoms. They did share some of the same terms and phrases. "Yeah, a lot of people. I'll just go tell Toby," I said. Soon enough, the big doorbell rang in our large house. Kim was getting ready, so it was up to me to greet our guests. It wasn't a formal event, but some of them were visiting for the second time. When I opened the door, I saw Luna's bright blue eyes, which always seemed to sparkle with a hidden smile. She wore a light green top, jeans, and a red leather jacket. "Luna, what happened to your hair?" I asked, looking her over. Usually she had long blonde hair, but today it looked different and very cool. Her hair was dyed a steel gray, almost silver, and she had cut the sides into a mohawk style. The long, wavy hair on one side made her look like a character from a futuristic story, especially with her sporty outfit. "I wanted a change. It's called silver blonde balayage. What do you think?" Luna replied, flipping her hair to the other side. "Kim mentioned you were looking into leather jackets, so here's a little preview. Oh, and I brought my friends." She motioned to Linda, Jen, and Robert, who were all waving behind her. "Welcome back, everyone!" I cheered, inviting them in. "You're the first guests." "Oh, the honor," Luna joked as she walked past me, giving me a playful smile while handing me a flask. "Be good, Luna," I teased back. "Oh, she's not the one to be good," Linda chimed in as the group entered. "How's the PUBG going?" Luna asked while we were catching up in the kitchen. Luna was Josh's younger sister, which made her feel like family to me, too. She was slightly taller than me, and I had to admit she was quite lovely in a unique way. We had a similar nerdy charm, although she was half Norwegian and half Italian like Josh, while I was fully Latina. Luna was really pretty, and she even had a nose ring, which I could never pull off. But it was nice that she was also a big gamer, just like me. Even though she always wanted me to watch those cartoons, I just couldn't stand them. Anime was the worst. It was so cheesy, and the loud sounds were really irritating. It's okay. CLG is trying to put a team together again, but the players they're looking at, not the best, I said. "Hey, I don't talk about esports. I meant your games," Luna replied, sipping her white wine. I sipped my red in response. "Ugh, too many bots and cheaters. I've been playing older games lately, mostly CSGO and some League." "What are you two nerds talking about?" Amanda asked, joining us just in time to almost spill her beer on Luna. Amanda always seemed a bit too tipsy, but I knew she was just pretending. She had drunk less than I had, but I think acting drunk gave her a reason to be a bit rude. "I like your outfits. It looks like you both planned it," Amanda said, looking us over. We both wore red leather jackets. I had on white shorts and a light crop top. Luna wore a green tank top with jeans. It really was just the jackets. I shrugged it off. Amanda, on the other hand, wore tight black jeans and a black top that showed off her stomach. "I guess. I didn't even notice," I said, glancing at Luna, who laughed. "Well, we are sisters after all. Yes, we're up to something," Luna joked. "You two better be careful. Toby seems to like Kim. Maybe he has a thing for silver blondes, too," Amanda teased. I looked at the lounge area where Toby was sitting on a sofa, watching me. He was facing away from the pool area where people were partying, but he still seemed to be glancing over at us. "Hey, Luna, check this out," Josh called, pointing at something near the bar. "Excuse me, Miss Girl I don't know," Luna said, giving a small bow to me and Amanda. Luna took her glass and walked over, hanging her leather jacket on a nearby stool. Wow, she must be working out, I thought, noticing Luna's strong arms. Their family was very athletic. Did she get new tattoos? I needed to ask her about that. "Where's your boyfriend?" I asked, teasing Amanda. Even though she could be mean, she was also a friend. I knew she was having a hard time with Zach lately. "He's around. I don't know why you guys let me bring him," Amanda said. "Well, you asked," I replied, surprised. "I thought you'd say no," Amanda said, playfully nudging my shoulder, ready to laugh. "Is it really that bad?" I asked. "If he's going to act immature," Amanda shrugged. "So tell me, what happened in the closet?" I asked, biting my lip a little. I didn't usually join in on gossip, but I was curious. "Oh, you want to know? Come on, let's go outside to the grill. I need some fresh air," Amanda said, wrapping her arm around mine. I followed her. It seemed like Amanda had something to tell us. "Hey, everyone, why don't you go somewhere else?" Amanda said to the guys by the grill. She was pretty bold. They all frowned but left. Amanda had that kind of power over people. I smiled. Amanda leaned back on a sun lounger and looked across the pool at the dancers. I took a seat on the edge of one next to her. "What's up with the secrets? Stop keeping us in suspense," I said. Amanda hesitated, gazing at the water as if she was recalling something important. I couldn't get him to finish," she whispered. "What do you mean?" "Toby. When I helped him last time, that has never happened before. I wanted to, and usually all guys finish when I help them. But Toby just held back, like he was trying really hard." "He was probably saving it," I said, thinking out loud. "What?" "Yeah, I think Toby was hoping for a chance to get closer with me," I explained. "I think he likes me." "Ooh, you have an admirer. Lucky you because," Amanda said, then leaned in and whispered playfully, "He's quite something." We both burst into giggles, sharing a moment that felt a bit mischievous. Maybe Amanda wasn't that bad after all. But then our fun got interrupted. "What are you two laughing about?" Zach asked, approaching with a serious face. He had been talking to some friends. "Just girl talk," I said, laughing. Zach rolled his eyes, not the friendliest guy. "Enough, I need to talk to Amanda," Zach said, ignoring me. I decided to be a good friend and crossed my arms in protest. But Amanda touched my shoulder and said, "It's fine." I hesitated, but eventually walked back inside. Hours later, as the party started winding down, the usual group was back together. We had invited more people, but most were either asleep waiting for rides or had already gone home. The remaining guests felt like our usual crowd: Kim, me, Linda, Jen, Robert, Amanda, and Toby. This time, there was no Zach, but my little sister Luna was with us. Zach was asleep somewhere outside. The rest of us were seated on the couch, having shed our jackets since it had warmed up. "Who brought that strong drink?" I asked, while mixing a tray of drinks for our guests. "Who cares?" Amanda said. "Come over here. We're playing Bottle Dares again." I turned and saw she had gathered everyone back on the couches. Toby and Kim were on the two-seater closest to me. To their left sat Linda, Jen, and Robert on a three-seater. Opposite them, Amanda and Luna sat together. That left me alone on a three-seater with my back to the pool. "Josh, can you get me a cider instead of a drink?" "I'm finished with the heavy drinking for now," Linda said. "More dares? Please, no inappropriate stuff this time," I replied, bringing over a tray of drinks. "Okay," Amanda pouted. "Not yet." "My sister is here," I complained. "Inappropriate? What happened last time?" Luna asked. "Don't ask," I mumbled, leaning back on the sofa. "All right then. You don't want this to be awkward, so why don't you start, Josh?" Amanda suggested. "Hey, what about the rules?" Luna protested. I picked up an empty bottle and took a breath. "So, I'll make a dare that includes 2 people, then spin the bottle to choose them. Let's see. One has to wrestle the other to the ground. We did that last time," I said, setting the bottle on the table. "Now I'll spin it to see who will wrestle," I said, spinning the bottle. It stopped on Robert. "And I guess I'm getting taken down, so what do you say, Robert?" "Sounds easy," Luna said, enjoying her drink. "Are you two just going to wrestle forever?" "Nah, I probably should have set a time limit. How about, take me down in 20 seconds? "Okay," Robert replied. We moved to the space between the lounge and the kitchen. As soon as Kim started the timer, Robert jumped at me, but 20 seconds later he was the one panting, while I still stood firm. "Wow, you've got good balance," Robert said, catching his breath. "Now it's my turn." Robert picked up the bottle, thought for a moment, and then said, "Let's keep the physical challenges going. Someone has to do squats while carrying another. So, Linda." "Okay, I get it," Luna said. "Linda has to squat with Kim on her back. Simple enough. Linda stood up, flexing her arms. Kim laughed and playfully bit her lip at Linda's show. I couldn't help but notice Linda's outfit. She wore tight black jeans and a loose maroon top. She had some makeup on that highlighted her gray eyes and made her lips shine a little. She looked really good. As Linda got Kim ready on her back, it was clear that Kim admired her too. Kim moved to Linda's side, but Linda stopped her, saying, "No, I want to see your face while I do this." So, things were getting a bit awkward anyway. I glanced at Luna, not wanting her to feel uncomfortable, but she seemed curious about Linda's confidence too. I turned back to Kim, who had her legs wrapped around Linda as they held each other in a tight hug. "How many? 5?" Linda whispered, just inches from Kim's face. Kim's hair floated as Linda breathed on her. Kim nodded. Then Linda stepped over to the space between my sofa and theirs to make some room, easily carrying my wife with her. "Wow, you're really strong, Linda," I said. "Lots of squats, my friend." Linda laughed, giving herself a playful tap. Linda got into position and faced us, bending her knees until she went low. Then she pushed herself back up. Kim giggled against Linda's neck, holding on tight so she wouldn't fall. "Be careful, you're tickling me," Linda laughed back. "I think Linda could take you down if she had a little more time," Amanda joked, looking at me. I chuckled to myself, not minding the idea at all. Linda quickly did 4 more squats with ease, then gently set Kim down on the sofa next to Toby. Instead of sitting back in her old spot, she climbed over me and settled in right between me and Luna. "All right, my turn. This person needs to make a nice poem for the other person," Linda said as she spun a bottle. And guess who it landed on? Me. "Oh no," I said, and everyone laughed. Linda spun it again. For a second it looked like it would point to Amanda, but then it rolled a bit, landing on my little sister, Luna. "Oh no," I said again, and the others laughed again. "Oh wow, how interesting," Amanda chuckled. "Come on, Amanda," I said playfully. "All right, give me a moment to think of a good rhyme." Luna blinked at me dramatically. "I can't stop my tears, what a lovely poem," she joked. I was relieved she wasn't making it awkward. Luna took a sip of her drink, looking at me. The others started chatting while I tried to think. After a few minutes, I finally came up with something. "Okay, here we go. I'm sticking with a classic rhyme style," I said, standing up, clearing my throat and beginning. "I present to you, Luna, my little sister." "Whose drink is that? I think I know." Its owner is quite happy, though, full of joy like a bright rainbow. I watch her laugh. I say hello. She shakes her drink with flair and laughs until she can't bear. The only other sounds are near, of distant waves and birds in the air. The drink is half full, half empty. It's deep, but she promises to keep. After cake and lots of sleep, sweet dreams come to her cheap. She rises from her cozy bed, with thoughts of kittens in her head. Her spread is jam with lots of bread, ready for the day ahead. There was a short silence as I looked at the small group. "Oh, that is so sweet," Jen said, resting her chin on her hands. "I do enjoy jam, and I do have a drink that's half empty, or is it half full? So many questions," Luna said, swirling her glass around while inspecting it thoughtfully. "See? I'm learning. I promise," I joked, having borrowed most of that poem. I glanced at Kim. "You really hit the mark with that one," Kim laughed. "Can I spin now?" Luna asked. Amanda nodded eagerly since she was in charge of the game. "All right, let's have some fun," Luna said. "First person takes a shot, and the other needs to join in." "Sounds fun," Amanda smiled brightly. The bottle pointed to Amanda. "Even more interesting," Amanda smiled again. Then it pointed to Kim. "Looks like you're winning them over tonight," I joked, playfully nudging Kim. Kim seemed to be in a light-hearted mood. Instead of moving away, she leaned back against Toby. Amanda grabbed a bottle from behind the sofa and poured a little tequila into Kim's belly button. "Ooh, that's cold," she giggled. Kim struggled to hold back laughter. Amanda's long hair probably tickled her sides, adding to the fun. "Stay still, or I might just have to clean it up differently," Amanda joked, trying to get closer to Kim. Quickly, I turned to Toby. "Shake Kim a bit." But Kim waved her finger at Toby, saying firmly, "Don't." Toby chuckled, but listened. I could tell he liked having Kim resting nearby. I wondered if he was noticing how close they were. "Good choice," Kim said, still holding back laughter as Amanda finally touched her skin. A small sound escaped Kim as Amanda pulled away. "You've got a willing assistant," Amanda teased. She looked at Toby, finished her drink, and then opened her mouth playfully. All gone. Did she just hint at something? "My turn," Amanda exclaimed, always ready to add some fun to the game, especially after a few drinks. "Kisses!" She spun the bottle eagerly. It landed on Jen and Linda. Without thinking, Linda leaned over to reach Jen. I glanced at Kim, who winked at me and nodded slightly. Then Linda settled back next to me. "I want someone to share a secret. It's getting warm in here," Linda laughed. I wasn't the only one feeling the heat. Things were definitely getting lively. The bottle pointed back to Linda and then Luna. "Am I really getting all the turns?" "It seems so," Amanda replied, less playful than before. She still didn't seem entirely in favor of Linda. I shook my head, trying to stay calm as things continued, but it seemed like the situation was escalating, even though we were all just playing around. Linda didn't miss a beat and playfully blew a kiss toward Amanda before leaning in close to Luna. They whispered something I couldn't hear, and suddenly Luna's eyes went wide. When they pulled back, Luna shot me a quick look, giggling quietly behind her hand. Meanwhile, Linda avoided eye contact. "What's going on?" I asked, confused. "Wouldn't you like to know?" Luna teased, clearly trying to keep things light. "Your turn to spin, Linda." "Fine, more kissing. And I mean the real deal, no shortcuts," Linda said with a mischievous grin. "Wait, didn't we say no more of this earlier?" I started to object, but before I could finish, the bottle was spinning again. This time, it seemed like it was heading my way. I watched closely as the bottle spun, passing by Amanda, Luna, Linda, me, Kim, Toby, Jen, and Robert, before finally stopping, on Luna. I gulped. This was the last situation I wanted to be in. Luna didn't look thrilled either, but the others found it hilarious. Luna hesitated, then leaned forward with a joking smile, trying to break the tension. "Well, I guess this is your reward for that poem," she said, trying to keep it light, though the awkwardness was clear. "Oh no, I said the real deal," Linda chimed in, determined to push things further. "This is so uncomfortable," I muttered under my breath. Amanda, never one to miss a chance for a joke, added, "Hey, nothing like sibling bonding, right?" Luna frowned, but slowly made her way over to me. I couldn't believe this was actually happening. Linda moved closer, clearly amused by the whole situation. "I want to make sure you two do this properly," Linda said, but I could tell she was just enjoying the awkwardness more than anything else. Luna kneeled on the sofa, looking at me, waiting for me to join her. There was no backing out now, and despite the awkwardness, I knew we just had to get through it. "Just pretend it's me," Linda whispered softly, only for the three of us to hear. Was she really trying to make this worse? Luna leaned in, clearly wanting to get it over with, while I tried to figure out how to handle this without making it more uncomfortable. I gently placed my hand behind Luna's head, trying to keep it as simple and quick as possible. We leaned in, and our lips briefly touched. It wasn't anything special, just a way to end the game, but the situation was far too awkward for comfort. The room was silent except for a few awkward laughs. This had to be one of the weirdest moments yet. Luna may have been imagining someone else, or she might have just been feeling uneasy. It was hard to know for sure with my eyes closed. "Let me see," Linda whispered softly. I felt Luna lean in a bit. A wave of nausea hit me, but we had to finish this. So when she leaned in again, I prepared myself. Surprisingly, Luna was a good kisser, even if it was uncomfortable. "That is so exciting," Linda said, clearly enjoying the moment. This seemed to be all Luna needed to pull away. I maybe should have been the one to stop it, but at least it was over. I wiped my mouth, realizing everyone was watching with great interest. I wondered how awkward it must have looked. "It got intense, huh?" Amanda teased. "Oh, there was definitely some intensity," Kim added, and both of them laughed. "All right, fun's over. I'm going to grab a drink. Anyone want something, Luna?" Luna nodded in disgust, clearly in need of something stronger. "Are you going to buy her a drink now?" Kim joked. I just shook my head. A few minutes later, I handed a cider to Luna. I was ready to move on. I need a break after that, so that's the dare. May luck be on our side. The bottle spun and pointed right at me. "Oh no!" I shouted. "Did I have a thing for being chosen or what?" The girls laughed. "Pick me," Kim said playfully. No way. You've had enough time with him. I'm up, Amanda replied with a grin. I want to see those muscles. Kim shot Amanda a look that seemed to say she didn't mind. Had the two of them been getting closer recently? I spun the bottle again, hoping it would land on someone else this time. Any other person would be fine. I'd be okay participating with anyone. A girl would be nice, but guys need affection too, right? But luck smiled at me. It landed on Amanda. So, do the rules apply here? I asked. Kim nodded and said, Be as lively as you want, but no touching. Right, Amanda? Stripper rules. That's no fun, Amanda said, pouting for a moment before breaking into a cheeky smile. I wanted to see those muscles up close. I quickly got up and helped Amanda off the sofa. Don't pout! You have 60 seconds. Grab a chair from the kitchen and bring it here. We're going to watch the show, right? Kim said as everyone settled into their seats. I walked over and got a chair, placing it in front of Amanda, who was leaning comfortably against Kim's sofa, and told her to sit. Kim and Amanda exchanged quick glances before Amanda stood up and confidently walked over to the chair, taking a seat. She sat up straight and looked at me with a playful smile. I met her gaze as I moved in front of her. I nodded at Kim, and she started a timer on her phone and played a lively song. Knowing how quickly 60 seconds can pass, I jumped right in. I stepped closer to Amanda, moving my feet beside hers. I leaned forward, resting my hands on the back of the chair just inches from her face. Amanda playfully stuck her tongue out, but I quickly straightened up, shaking my finger at her with a cheeky grin. I began to sway my hips to the rhythm as I started to unbutton my shirt. I did it with some flair, but I couldn't resist the moment. As time rushed on, I dramatically pulled my shirt off and tossed it aside. Wow, my husband is looking great, I heard Kim say quietly as I showed off my toned upper body. But I wasn't finished. I leaned back toward Amanda, my hands still on the chair, feeling her warm breath nearby. I shifted a bit to position myself closer, syncing my movements with the music. Suddenly, I heard the timer go off from Kim's phone. Just when it was getting better, Amanda said, reaching out to touch me but pulling back at the last moment, looking a bit overwhelmed. I stepped away, lightly tousled Amanda's hair and headed back to join the others, who cheered for me. I glanced at Luna, and she appeared a bit surprised, watching everything unfold. Do I get to pick again? I feel like I'm in trouble no matter what, I said. Okay, the next person chosen has to give a back massage. Maybe I can make it fun. I spun the bottle and it landed on Kim and Toby. I nearly spit out my drink, realizing I had almost forgotten about them. Now Toby would give Kim a massage. Had they ever touched before? I knew he had done other things, but this felt different. Should I spin the bottle while getting the massage? Is 60 seconds okay? Kim asked, looking at me. I nodded in response. Kim took the bottle and announced, Someone has to remove a piece of clothing of the other's choice. I held my breath, remembering that I already had my shirt off. I was too distracted to notice who the bottle landed on as Kim turned in her seat for her massage. My attention was on Toby, who was focused as he worked his hands on her shoulders. Kim let out a relaxed sigh as his fingers pressed into her back, and I couldn't help but watch. Josh, come on, make a choice. Amanda's voice snapped me back to the game. Oh, right, socks, I said absent-mindedly, spinning the bottle without even noticing who it landed on. To my dismay, it was Linda who took off her socks, looking a little disappointed. Great, I muttered. I want to see something more fun, Amanda interrupted, stopping the bottle. How about one person has to kiss the other for 30 seconds? I groaned. This is getting out of hand. Games like this were always tricky when family was involved. I glanced at Kim, who was just finishing her massage and stretching with a satisfied sigh. Thankfully, the bottle landed on Linda and then back on Amanda. Let's take this somewhere else, Linda said, standing up quickly. How about by the pool? It's quiet and private enough. Amanda didn't look thrilled, but shrugged. Fine, let's just get it over with. I grabbed a towel for Amanda as she followed Linda outside, hoping they'd find a way to handle it on their own terms. I didn't need to know what happened, so I decided to keep the rest of the group entertained. Luna, how about you spin next? I suggested, trying to shift the focus. All right, let's keep the fun going, Luna exclaimed, immediately spinning the bottle with enthusiasm. To my surprise, the bottle landed on Kim and Toby. Kim, looking a bit flustered, probably from the drinks, grabbed Toby and guided him to a chair. She seemed more playful than usual, maybe feeling the effects of the alcohol. She nodded at me, signaling that she was about to turn the energy up. Kim moved gracefully, her movements slow and deliberate. She danced around Toby, swaying her hips, clearly making him feel the moment. Toby looked a bit overwhelmed, but didn't stop her. She leaned into him, her back pressing against his chest, and I could see the excitement in his eyes as Kim danced close to him, all while keeping the atmosphere light. She didn't push the situation too far, but she knew how to keep the fun going. It was all part of the game, and everyone seemed to be enjoying the lightheartedness of it all. Did she just flick her tongue? "Time's up!" Luna shouted, pouring herself another drink. Was she getting tipsy? I didn't mind, but I knew either I or Kim would end up helping her if things got messy. "Oh my goodness," Amanda suddenly said as she walked back in. She looked out of sorts. It was clear she had experienced something different while she was outside. Even Linda looked a bit worn out. Amanda made her way over to the sofas and flopped down next to Luna with a big sigh. She seemed pretty, content, sleepy. What had Linda done to her? "Mine," Amanda said, reaching for the drink. "Things are getting interesting out here. How about we have a challenge, see who can make the other laugh in 30 seconds just using their hands?" Not Luna, I thought, watching the bottle point too. Kim and Toby. Again. What were the chances? Toby looked pretty pleased with himself, even more than usual. Maybe the drinks and the recent dance had him feeling extra bold. I thought I noticed something as he stood up, but he managed to keep it hidden. "You okay?" Kim asked as she stood by me. "Of course," I said. It was all part of the fun. I couldn't deny that the idea of my wife playing around with Toby didn't bother me. After all, it was just a game. Nothing serious. Kim led Toby towards the door. Not the closet, but outside to the pool area. "Are you fine with your wife having fun with someone else?" Amanda asked. "Come on, we're all young and enjoying ourselves. What's wrong with that?" I replied with a shrug. "Zach didn't take it so well," Amanda whispered. "He was really upset and yelling." "Listen to the big guy," Luna joked, waving her hand. "Hey, Linda and I have been putting you girls through a lot of fun, so it's only fair that Toby gets some joy," I joked back. Kim and Toby were already outside, and the girls, along with Robert, were clearly not happy. "Really?" Linda said, sipping her drink. "The luck just wasn't on our side," Jen replied. "You think pretty highly of yourself, huh?" Luna said, playfully hitting my chest. "What if we try some straight-up dares?" Amanda suggested. "If he thinks he can make us laugh, we should give it a shot. I bet we can take Josh and toss him into the pool." "Hold on. No need to get carried away. Hey," I said, jumping off the sofa to escape. Like a pack of playful animals, they began to circle around me. Or at least that's how it felt in my tipsy state. "Luna, you take his arms, and Linda, you're the strongest, so you grab his legs." I tried to run, but Linda was too quick and caught my legs before I could move. I knew how to fall safely, so I didn't hit the ground hard. Before I knew it, my sister and Amanda had grabbed my arms, dragging me along. I could have easily pulled free, but getting pulled along by a group of laughing girls? Why stop that? "Wow, you're heavy," Amanda groaned, struggling with my weight. "You've got to be at least 200 pounds, Linda added, clearly putting in some effort. "Come on, girls, have mercy," I laughed, going along with the fun. Robert held the door open, and soon the cool night air hit me. That's when I realized they were serious. I made a small attempt to resist, but I wasn't really fighting it. "Hey, I don't even have swim trunks on," I protested. "Neither did we, but you still made us get soaked, showing off your six-pack and muscles," Amanda shot back as they carried me towards the pool. "Robert, how about grabbing me a towel?" I said, trying to sound casual, as if I wasn't about to be tossed into the water. "I'm feeling like a swim any second, Nun." And with that, they tossed me into the air, sending me crashing into the cold pool. The water hit like ice, but as I surfaced, I laughed loudly and backstroked to the other side. "So refreshing. How about it, girls? Ready for a swim?" I called, hoping to coax them in. But they just laughed, heading back inside, clearly satisfied with their prank. I decided to take a lap anyway, enjoying the peaceful night air. Throughout the evening, I could feel Toby's subtle attempts to get closer to me. At first, it was just his hand resting on my thigh, but as the night went on, he grew a bit more daring. I could have stopped it if I wanted to, but I didn't mind the attention. Maybe I even leaned into it a little. He tested the waters, moving his hand behind me or gently resting it on my knee when he reached for his drink. It was like he was waiting to see if I'd stop him or how far he could go. Though he didn't push it too far, I could sense what he was hoping for. When Amanda leaned in for a playful belly shot, I laid my head in Toby's lap and I noticed his reaction. He seemed flustered but didn't move. I could tell he was enjoying it, and my outfit, a white crop top and shorts, probably didn't help. I kept things playful, knowing where the line was. Then came the lap dance, and the night took another turn. Toby had been pushing boundaries all evening, and I could feel the tension building. It was exciting, though I knew nothing would come of it. Still, the energy was palpable, and it would no doubt carry into my time with Josh later. I could already feel the adrenaline rushing through me. Now, I found myself kneeling by the pool, with Toby sitting back on a lounge chair. The pool's dim light cast faint shadows, and I could see the tension in his posture. The dare was simple. I had 30 seconds to make him feel something. It wasn't about anything inappropriate, it was just part of the game. Toby was clearly nervous but excited, and I had to admit the situation had me on edge as well. "All right, let's get this over with," I said, keeping control of the moment. Toby didn't speak, but he responded quickly, shifting slightly as he leaned back. I placed my hand on his leg, keeping things simple and not pushing the boundaries too far. My goal was just to play along without making it uncomfortable for either of us. As my hand rested on his thigh, I could feel the nervous energy radiating from him. The 30 seconds would fly by, and I knew he was waiting to see what would happen next. I kept my movements light, just enough to tease without crossing any lines. Toby seemed both relieved and tense at the same time. The game, while playful, had its limits. I knew where the line was, and I wasn't going to cross it. I lightly placed my hand on Toby's leg, keeping things subtle as I prepared for the next part of the dare. "Toby, start the timer," I said. Toby pulled out his phone, set the clock, and gave me a nod. He was clearly nervous but excited, and I could sense the tension. I kept my movements gentle and slow, not wanting to make things uncomfortable for either of us. My goal was just to play along and not cross any boundaries. I placed my hand near his waist, keeping it casual. There was no need to rush. I moved my fingers lightly, tracing a line up his leg to maintain the playful nature of the game without overstepping. Toby's expression showed that he was both surprised and flustered, but he didn't stop me. As the seconds passed, he grew more tense, clearly feeling the excitement of the moment. I could tell this was something new for him, but he handled it well. He gripped the armrests, his breathing quickening as he got caught up in the moment. Before I knew it, the timer went off, signaling the end of the dare. I gave Toby a reassuring smile as he relaxed. It was all just part of the game, after all, and no harm was done. Just then, we both turned toward the door as Luna, Amanda, and Linda came out laughing, carrying Josh between them. They tossed him into the pool with a big splash, and I couldn't help but laugh. Toby gave me a nod before heading back inside, while Josh stayed in the pool, enjoying a quick swim under the night sky. "Josh, let's head inside soon," I called to him, ready to wrap up the evening. It had been an eventful night, and everyone seemed to be having a good time. "Get out of the water right now," I said urgently. "What's wrong?" Josh asked, swimming closer. "I need you to help me right away," I replied. Josh's expression changed, realizing I was serious. I really needed some attention. He quickly climbed out of the pool and came over to me. "Wow, you really needed this," I said, leaning over a chair. "Toby got me all worked up, and I could use some of that husband love." "You feeling worked up?" Josh asked. "Not anymore. Come on, make me feel good." "Do you want this?" Josh asked, moving closer. "Yes, give it to me," I said, leaning back against him. And Josh did just that, making me feel wonderful. His strength was impressive, and the more he moved, the better it felt. Soon, I was writhing with delight. Then he reached around and started to touch me gently, pushing me closer to a big moment. I was nearing the edge and suddenly let out a loud cry of joy. "Oh, wow, yes!" I shouted, feeling overwhelmed. I could sense everything around us, and in that moment it felt incredible. We took a few moments to catch our breath. "That was amazing," Josh said. I nodded, feeling content. "Now get back in the water," I said, giving him a playful look. When I returned after some time, I noticed everyone else still playing games. I might have missed out on some fun, but I felt tired. Kim had really worn me out. "But Josh, we found a fun way to keep things exciting even while resting," Amanda said with a smile. "Really?" I replied, trying not to yawn. "Yeah, we picked names from this bowl," Amanda explained, showing me a bowl filled with paper slips. I was curious about this idea, but also exhausted. However, waking up surrounded by friends sounded nice. "No, we're pairing up," Amanda said, noticing my thoughts. "Sure, that sounds good. Robert, are you ready to sleep?" I joked. Amanda then passed the bowl to Robert, who picked a name. "Jen, look who's together again," he laughed. They often ended up paired. Amanda shrugged and handed the bowl to Linda. "Looks like we're bunking together. I thought I'd be alone." "Not tonight," Amanda replied, though it was hard to tell if she was annoyed or amused. It seemed Linda had a past with someone. "So, I guess I'm next?" I said. I was left with only Toby, Luna, and Kim. Out of the three, I really hoped to be with Kim. However, I didn't feel great about Toby sharing a bed with my little sister. I worried about what might happen. Amanda handed me a bowl, and when I looked inside, I pulled out a note that had Luna's name on it. Great. The protective brother part of me was winning, but I couldn't ignore the idea of Kim and Toby being together. It was a bit exciting. I knew Kim would never betray me, but I couldn't help but wonder what they might do together. And here I was, stuck with my sister in my bed. "What the heck?" I said, surprised. "Poem time, then you share a kiss," Amanda teased. Luna, sleepy and tired, frowned at her. I frowned too. Just thinking about it made me feel uneasy. "Can you stop? I'm probably going to just fall asleep," I replied. Luna nodded, probably too tired to really care about the joking. "Looks like it's just Toby and our dancer left," Amanda said playfully. I shook my head but couldn't shake off the thoughts that came with it. I glanced at Luna. She had fallen asleep. Should I carry her to her bed? I could just leave her there, but that wouldn't be nice. So, with a sigh, I picked her up and lifted her onto my shoulder. She was definitely out cold, maybe a bit too much to drink. It felt fine. I waved goodbye to the others as I headed for the room. I gave Kim a wink and blew her a kiss, which she returned. What would she get up to tonight? She had seemed really lively earlier, and now they had the whole night. A few minutes later, I laid my sleeping sister on Kim's side of the bed. It felt a bit awkward, but I decided to keep it casual. I brushed my teeth and got ready for bed like normal, letting Luna sleep peacefully. The next morning, I woke up with a mild headache. It took me a moment to remember what happened last night. I realized that I had an arm and a leg over me. To my surprise, I saw that I had cuddled with Luna, not Kim. It felt familiar to sleep that close to Kim, but somehow I must have moved over to Luna. She was sound asleep on my chest. The usual reaction would be to get up in shock or disgust, but Luna seemed so deeply asleep. So I gently moved her leg off me and slipped out of bed, carefully placing her head back on my pillow. I put on my robe and made my way to the hallway and down the stairs. As I entered the hall, I noticed Toby's room and saw Kim coming out. She looked a bit messy, and I thought I saw something on her. She hadn't looked her best. I couldn't help but find it amusing. She quietly closed the door behind her, turned, and noticed me. She smiled a little and walked over. "Have you been misbehaving?" I asked, trying to keep things light despite my headache. "You could say that. He was a bit excited this morning," Kim whispered, hoping to keep it low-key. "Oh, really?" I replied, noticing some marks on her face. "Did you two do anything?" I began to ask, but I hesitated to finish. "No, of course not. I just helped him out a little," she said, sounding a bit frustrated. "But then he got a little messy, and I'll tell you more later. I need some rest. I slept well, but I still feel tired. Maybe it's the drinks. You know I can't sleep well unless I'm back in my own bed." "All right then, feel free to go. Luna is upstairs, though." Kim shrugged and went upstairs. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to Infidelity Plus to stay updated with more captivating tales of infidelity and payback. Turn on notifications so you're the first to see our latest content.